Aloha everyone, this is Ashley from ECETI, and it's my honor to welcome you to the recorded version of the Roadshow webinar that we did on March 18th, 2017. We normally start what we do with the Healing Negative Influences process. There is actually a separate video on our YouTube channel that covers that healing negative influences process. So as we have a lot of information contained within this presentation, I'm not going to go over the clearing at this time. You can look for that video and experience the information on the clearing separately. For those of you that are new to ECETI, ECETI actually stands for Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And if you've heard James Gilliland speak on his own As You Wish talk radio program, or perhaps being interviewed on Coast to Coast, Midnight in the Desert, or soon to be Gaia TV, you understand what the concept of enlightened contact with extraterrestrial intelligence refers to. Because this is more than just looking up in the sky and UFO sightseeing, as we call it. James is about self-empowerment and holding space and assisting people in remembering their own multidimensional connections, lineage, star family, as well as understanding our own interaction with the benevolent multidimensional beings. There are many organizations that deal with contact, but at ECETI, it is truly about enlightened contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Gilliland's Ranch, ECETI, was founded over 30 years ago at the foot of Mount Adams in Trout Lake, Washington. If you're flying in, you fly into Portland, Oregon, and then we're about 90 minutes due east on Interstate 84 and about 30 minutes up into the mountain for a total of 90-minute drive. As James says, there is so much happening on the planet at this time, and it continues to accelerate. And at ECETI, we hold space for each of you to remember your own mastery, as the people of Earth are being offered a chance to join the rest of the universe in peace and participate in spiritual awakening and from the heart benevolent extraterrestrial contact. James invites you to be part of that change. The ECETI Roadshow is something new that we launched in 2017, and these are the cities that we visited. This webinar took place on March 18th, 2017, and I will be in Seattle on Sunday, May 21st. Check the website to see if there are still seats available to attend that event. But if you're listening to this webinar, everything will be covered in this slide presentation. To give you an idea of what the presentation is going to cover, we will first go through an introduction to ECETI for newbies, people who perhaps have not been to the ranch before. We'll then talk about remote healing available from ECETI, as well as the healings you can partake in when you're here at the ranch visiting. Our next topic will cover the 2017 ECETI event calendar to give you a feel of what you can expect or participate in this summer at ECETI. After reviewing the calendar, we'll begin to go deeper into what it means to be part of the ECETI community. We have no membership fees. You don't need a special badge, but we'll go over the different types of ways you can become more involved in ECETI beyond just coming to visit. One of those ways is the volunteer program we have, or energy exchange for event weekends. We'll then talk about the difference between being a volunteer in exchange for event weekends, attending workshops or our conference, and what it means to be a monthly or seasonal community member at ECETI. When you wish to spend more time here and are willing to roll up your shirt sleeves, pitch in, and be part of the ECETI community in holding the Stargate and getting the chores done.
But first, for those of you who may not yet be familiar with ECETI, we'd like to share with you a video that gives you a good feel about James, the mission of ECETI, and the ranch itself.
Is that one?
Yeah, this guy's got a massive field around it. When I first started out, I had visions of this place and I wanted to create an alternative healing center. What happened along the way, masters started appearing here, ultra-dimensional ships started appearing here. We live very simply here, and we have an old saying, a Cherokee saying, that, if it isn't good for everyone, it isn't good. So that's basically what we live our lives by. On the way to enlightenment, you're going to start experiencing these energies. It's mainly what this place is about, is to help usher in the ninth wave that they call unity consciousness, and to bring, back universal law. Right now, we're at a crossroads. You've got the Illuminati, the tyrants, and the archons, and all that group that are trying to suppress and enslave humanity and keep the energy down. And then you've got the ones that are here to free humanity and liberate the earth. And so there's big push-pull between the two forces. Good news is the tyrants, the ones that are holding on to that frequency, aren't frequency specific to the earth and her evolution, so they can't stay. So they're going to implode. So tyranny is coming to an end. There's so many things that are happening right now. It's an incredible time to be here and to be alive, but it's also a time of chaos, and it's going to be a lot of changes. We are going through challenging times. We're moving to a highly energized place in space right now that is really kicking the energy up. Our whole solar system is reacting to this. All the planets are going through changes. The sun is reacting to this, throwing off major coronal mass ejections and flares, like we're getting hit right now by major coronal mass ejection. And really, almost all of our pain and suffering comes from the concept of separation. And there is no separation. There's no separation in omnipresence. There never was. There's just the illusion. We have to start seeing the Creator in all creation, including ourselves and others, and start being kind to the planet, and behave as if all life matters. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's very simple.
Here you'll see some night vision photography. We have 3rd and 4th generation night vision. You'll see the two craft flying across the sky. We love how the weather balloons fly in formation. I'm just kidding. And we do actually have apps that show what our satellites, we know what our planes, and so we have very good transparency. What we see. This is a shot of Mount Adams at night, again using third and fourth generation. You'll see the laser that we're pointing at the sky. It helps our guests to see what's happening with their naked eye, and you'll see this light shoot out from the mountain. Mount Adams is very well known for its inner earth portal and its hub. This is actually a mountain that's 13 miles away from where we are doing our evening Skywatch. It's about 10:30 at night when we're doing this during the summer. And in order for that light at the bottom at the tree line to be a headlamp, it would have to be the size of Batman's spotlight for the distance that it's actually traveling. There are no roads there. There are no hiking paths. This is actually very rugged terrain. And you see orbs and crafts, and it's just an amazing experience to see the mountain light up at night. This is a picture that was taken from a glider plane flying over the mountain. You'll see the inner earth opening here, the doorway into the mountain itself. And if you're in tune with the rock beings, you may begin to notice that we do have some very interesting guardians to this inner earth doorway. Can you take a look? And just near the lion, his intention to journey out of body or remotely into the inner earth. I say journey remotely because out of body oftentimes is in the astral plane. James doesn't like to hang out very much in the astral plane. He goes into the fifth dimension or above. But when he connected in with the inner earth beings and asked for permission to enter, they said yes, but you may want to reconsider. And when he asked why, they said, because if you do come in, you won't want to leave. And he smiled and understood and chose not to enter at that moment. These are photographs taken by one of our guests of the fairy kingdom. Here at ECETI, we interact with all the elemental beings, fairies and elves, the little people and dwarves. One of my favorites. Do you see the profile of the fairy holding the beautiful crystal? We do talk a lot about the little people here. When you come to visit, you'll notice that of our 70 acres, there is quite a bit of it that is left to nature to actually grow wild. This is because James understands the symbiotic relationship with all the sentient beings here on the land, and he made an agreement with them that they would be land left free for them to live the way they did before humans ventured here. Now, one thing we do want to say about the fairy beings is they're not all Tinkerbell. There are actually some that have a little bit of attitude. We say that lovingly. And we share with our guests when they come here to pay attention to their keys and shiny objects, because the little people sometimes like to play tricks. And it's okay when you're able to get a duplicate key made at Ace Hardware for $1 or $2. But now with the keys with the chips in it, it's a little bit more expensive. So we do share with our guests to keep an eye on their car keys so that they can make it home at the end of their stay. When we do our Skywatches, we oftentimes will play music and sing, and you can see from the orbs in this picture that our multidimensional friends and elemental friends really enjoy when we lighten up on the path of enlightenment. You'll see across the main drum where James is playing also a spirit being. The flash in the back is actually someone's camera, but above the chief's head you'll see a beautiful orb and many orbs in the night sky. This is a beautiful gentleman that came to the ranch who had a childlike heart, and he went out to Skywatch Field and opened his heart and said hello. And that is the kind of energy that our multidimensional friends love to dance and interact with. A lot of times when there are children here, the sky is filled with orbs that you can see with our special lights, because they also enjoy that pure innocence and mastery of the young people. Believe it or not, we have beings from all realms. We do have our own resident Bigfoot family. This is a footprint that we found in the pathway. James found it after a sighting of Dalaki, our juvenile Bigfoot. You consider him a teenager. His parents, like many parents, don't always approve of his sense of adventure, because Dalaki does like to interact with our guests and with our crew. Some of you may have heard Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero Radio finally admit on air that he had a personal interaction with Dalaki when he was here at the ranch with his listeners group a couple of years ago. Clyde was sitting on the patio of our guest house, which looks out into the apple orchard. That's an area where a lot of our elemental beings and interdimensional beings like Dalaki like to hang out. And as he was sitting there relaxing, Clyde was relaxing, all of a sudden this golden creamed being ran across and, almost like a cartoon character, skidded as he stopped, saw Clyde, and turned and ran back the other way. James has many stories about hearing knocking on his second story of his yurt. There are no trees that can brush against it, and it's the perfect height for Dalaki, who's 7 to 8 foot tall, to raise his arm and knock on that second story. Both my partner Joseph and I, in separate interactions, when we were out doing laundry in the wee hours, sometimes when you're crew, you don't always have time to do it during the day. Our laundry for crew is in our guest house that is also, as I said, near the orchards. And as we've been out there individually, we each have had our own interactions with the juvenile Bigfoot known as Dalaki. Again, Dalaki is interacting with the energy of the heart. If you're in fear, that energy can be a little bit difficult for the Bigfoot beings to resonate with. Also, we see them flashing like orb flashlights as they multidimensionalize. Oftentimes our guests will see them running across our Skywatch field, not necessarily seeing a 3D version, but seeing a silhouette or multidimensional version, and they will flash in a pop of light and travel to the other realms. This being, for those of you that have been to the ranch, you may recognize, is our beautiful Andromedan puppy Jadar, who is 21 years young. One of the amazing things about Jadar is he is a very powerful healer. He absorbs a lot of energy when guests come here, and so we spend time actually doing clearings for him with the oversoul of the dog kingdom known as Dio, D as in David, E-O. Dio, that's a beautiful being you can call on to support your dog family members if you feel they need clearing. But if you take a look at this picture, it is quite an old picture, so it's a bit wrinkled, but you can see the orbs here in the sky, and can you see these beams of light going into or perhaps coming out of Jadar's eyes? Now that's not red eyes from a camera. You can see there's very definitely streams of energy. One of the amazing things about Jadar is he's a mind melder. That means he will telepathically send you a message, and it goes something like this. Feed me sausage, feed me chicken, feed me human food. And we joke and we warn people, please don't feed the puppy. He's 21 years young, and it's our intention for him to stay as long as he chooses to stay. And that helps if he's not given a lot of human food. He's a very wise old soul. During our conference, when we have 300 or so people here at the ranch. We give everybody a name badge, and Jadar has his own, but it also says, "Do not feed me." He's gotten smart in the last couple of years, smarter than usual, and he'll continually dive into our pond to smear the printing on that badge so he can try to convince people to feed him. We also have a beautiful smaller puppy named Charlie Brown, who is the four-legged son of one of our beautiful goddess crew members, Lori, who is our volunteer coordinator. So you may also see Charlie Brown. Because we have a lot of animals at the ranch, we actually do have a no pet policy for our guests, and that includes service dogs, unfortunately. 2 years ago, we had a service dog that almost attacked one of our dogs. We actually had to get in between them. And we also had a guest that was nipped, luckily not badly, by a separate guest's dog. And because of the liability, we can no longer allow any other pets onto the ranch because we have our own dogs and chickens and other animals. But this is the beautiful Jadar. And he is 21 years young, so if you do come to visit, it is our intention that he is still here in the physical.
Salutations. I was here with, with James Gillian, who I'm proud to call my friend. We've done many conversations out here. He's invited me to the ranch. I thank you for that. I just wanted to say, being here, behind us is Mount Adams there. Look, I've been an experiencer most of my life, one of that has physical experiences. I didn't know what exactly to expect when I come out here. I've been following James's work since '92 when I was in high school, but I didn't expect what I've experienced out here, okay? I've seen a holographic mountain. I've seen multiple light ships. I have Sasquatches leaving rocks in front of my door and breaking branches around where I'm staying, okay? This is real. It's not just some fantasy land, all right? But the problem is that sometimes our perception is so molded that we don't have time for things like this. But anyone that gets a chance to come out here or has been invited, I advise it, really, because I'm seeing on this mountain back here at night, there are lights that are portals that's very obvious. You can see ships coming in and out of it. This is real, all right? So I just want to let everyone know that. Thanks, James, and maybe you could go into a little, some of the things are beyond what's happening to me.
Yeah. Well, it's like a vortex here. It definitely is a vortex, but there's a Stargate above us, and when you look at the mountain, there's an inner Earth thing going on there where there's doors that open, huge light doors, and ships coming in and out of it. So, and then you've got, because the vortex energy here, the veils between worlds are so thin, and that's why people are seeing light spheres shooting over everywhere. They're seeing fairies, elves, all these other things that are happening here. You know, people think you're nuts. And I was talking about earlier about this woman from New York. She goes, "I don't believe any of this," you know. And she goes, "You know, you're seeing Bigfoot, you're seeing ships, you're seeing, you know, nature spirits and everything else." She goes, "I don't believe, there's no way anybody could see anything, all that stuff." And I just said, "Where do you live?" She goes, "In New York." And I go, well, I said, I think you need to get out a little more, you know, to get out in nature. And but you're not going to see this stuff in concrete jungles. And if you're unconscious, you're not going to see it either, because it's all about consciousness. So one of the things I see all the time, people go, "Well, I'll believe it when I see it." And I always tell people, your eyes are picking up billions of bits of information, even other dimensions, but your brain chooses what you see. And so when you say, "I'll believe it when I see it," it's totally inappropriate. That's not neuroscience. Yeah. In neuroscience, we know that our beliefs create the world in which we live, and out of our beliefs is what we see. Sometimes we're shocked and other things happen outside of our reality, but there's been all kinds of experiments that have proved that you know, what we see is according to our belief system, and so we have to change our beliefs to really experience these things. But it's just a big plethora of all kinds of things happening here, and whatever people are attuned to or want to experience, or whatever their intention is focused on, seems to manifest here very quickly.
Yes, yes. I mean, the contact is extreme, and I'd say taken to the next level, it's telepathic, it's visual, it's all these things. And I'm fairly aware, but I mean, I can't believe the amount of synchronicity that's happening here also. Yeah. This is a real power spot. I found one in the state I live, there's a power spot, but it's not like this one. And this one's much different. The things, the energies out here are just incredible. So I thank you for having me here.
Oh, welcome. Yeah, and we've had masters appear in the field here. We've had Kuan Yin appear right over here in the field. We've had Babaji appear here. Mary, beautiful photographs of Mary. So a little bit of everything's going on here. It's like if you're tuned into the masters, that starts manifesting here. If you're tuned into the ultra-dimensionals, the ships, they come and say hi. If you're tuned into the nature spirit, you know, if that's your focus, then you get to have those experiences. And there are little areas on the ranch here that are more predominant than others, like for around the ponds, and then there's a little fairy mound back over here where there's a lot of fairy activity. If you want to see that, you take your camera out there at night and take some photographs and you'll get them.
You know, I got to tell you, I've been kind of blown away for the last couple of days. And I'm kind of wondering what's going to go down today.
Every day's a new day here. Something else bizarre happens, you know. And now I'm at the point now I go, oh, that's interesting. You know, I've seen so much and done so much here now. You know, when something new pops up, I go, okay, that's interesting.
James, you want to maybe say anything about the Pleiadians and the ancestral original people knowledge you got while you're in Australia?
Oh yeah, that was amazing. We hung out with Ulukai Brendan Murray and Wally and his friend sidekick Pancake. And Wally was an elder. And it's funny, we were sharing stories with my research according to their ancient legends. And what's funny is they just totally corresponded with each other. And the only difference I found was what I think the ancient Lyrians, which we refer to as the Anunnaki, were here first, and they're very tall, very big beings. Yeah. And then the second colonies were Atlantis and Lemuria, that were Pleiadian colonies. And the Pleiadians are actually ancestors of the ancient Lyrians too. So that was the only difference, is that their stories all go back to the Pleiades, but it goes back even further, but their history goes back even further. The only thing is the original beings, the Anunnaki, I'm not sure what they refer to them. They just kind of refer to the Pleiadians. Yeah. And so, but when I told them my research and told them about it, they said, you know, that feels right. They kind of went in and checked it out. But, you know, thanks to Peter Slattery here in Salrita, you know, we had an amazing trip, and Ulukai Brendan Murray it was just one phenomenon after another. Ships everywhere we went were appearing, and you know, we had full support of the heavens, you know. But we also had other beings messing with. We had black helicopters and drones and everything else going on too that didn't want this information out, you know. Yeah. So it's a pretty interesting trip.
Yeah, it's kind of like the chemtrails out here that are really bad. I mean, there's no doubt. I'm from the air capital, and I've seen much worse out here even than what I see there. Yeah. So yeah. Well, James, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here and agreeing to do this too.
Oh, thank you. All right, take care.
Thanks to our brother Barry Littleton, who is the gentleman that James was talking to. Barry is a beautiful, heart-centered being who lives in Kansas. Our big joke at the conference last year, which is where this was filmed, was that Barry wasn't in Kansas anymore. You can see across behind James, that is the depth of our Skywatch field. You see how much of that grass is growing wild. You can see the poles with the flags. That's actually a Pleiadian vortex. We have that energy center that has a predominant connection with the Pleiadians. And in another location on the ranch, we have what we call Lemurian Hill, where the vortex is more in a Lemurian frequency. And of course, the beautiful Mount Adams in the back. We joke about how this is 3 weather balloons flying in synchronistic formation. We have all kinds of sightings, and there's more on the website here on the ECETI official Stargate radio YouTube channel. There's more footage, and we have tons of video footage in our archives that we'll be uploading over this summer. This is another aspect of 2 craft. This website shows you our current event website, privateinvitationeceti.com. ECETI.org is our educational website, and to be honest, it looks like a 1970s house that's in bad need of renovation. The foundation is there. It's not visible yet on the internet, and now during this next month or so, April and May, we'll actually be painting it, if you will, and decorating it. But this is our current website, privateinvitationeceti.com. You'll notice this was filmed a few days ago, but we have all of our current events on the coming up page, and you just scroll down, you can see what's happening. Our calendar is there. Description of the weekly teleconference that I do as one of our community gatherings, self-mastery workshop, the events that are open for registration, a couple of the fundraisers going on, and then comments from people that have been here. The next tab over about talks about first-time visitors to ECETI. There are some general things for people to know. You do need a reservation to visit. You do not need an invitation. We'll talk about that a little bit more. You'll see it says on the page, this is your invitation to register. And through here we talk about if you want to have healings, etc. The next page talks about the different types of accommodation we have at the ranch and what our current rates are. We have rooms. You can come and dry camp in your RV, in your van, take a tent, and it describes all the different kinds of room categories that we have and what the actual pricing is for them. And we'll also be working on getting more photos up on there. We also have a page dedicated to explaining what our workshop cancellation penalties are. Currently, the frequently asked questions is set up as a PDF, and that's one of the new things that we'll be doing, is going up and actually putting it in more of a link, so it'll have the question and the answer drop down like a more current website. We also talk about radio and media, so you'll have the link here to our Stargate YouTube channel and also the link to James's program on As You Wish Talk Radio. We also provide on the contact page our phone number, our mailing address. It is not the street address. We do not have a street address. We'll talk about in a second, and then also a contact form. We then go into the ECETI 2017 calendar, and the first thing you'll see is the overview that talks about the 4 different types of weekends, and then it goes in our calendar month by month, and we'll go over that a little bit later on in this presentation as we talk about what's coming up. Then there's a page that's talking about the Roadshow itself. This will actually change and become something more current because we're finalizing the Roadshow, but it also has the link to the volunteer weekends in April that we'll be talking about a little bit later on. We've just started putting up the information for our ECETI conference. We do have some of the bios up for the speakers. Our conference every year is the 4th of July weekend, and we'll be talking about this a little bit later on again, but I want to show you the website through this. We then have the workshop calendar page. As we go through and update that, all of the actual workshops will have a registration link from this page. And we have 1 or 2 workshops every month from really beautiful presenters. You'll see you can click on the link that says click for more information, and it will bring up a page that will give you a description about that event. When I was filming this from my screenshot, the connection was a little bit slow, so it finally gets there. There you go. This is James's one foundational workshop called Self-Mastery, and you'll see more about that when we get into the calendar. In addition, it has the schedule and it has our energy exchange and other events going on, and you can again find that from this link. And then we have the page that speaks just about the casual weekends. So if you're not wanting to come for a workshop or the conference, this page talks more in depth about the types of activities we have during our casual camping and Skywatch weekends. Now we have Skywatch every weekend, whether it's a conference, workshop or not, but these we call our casual weekends. Under the healing tab, we've just added the Healing Negative Influences Prayer. You may have heard James talk about this on the Coast to Coast radio show or Midnight in the Desert or the Jimmy Church show. This is actually now on the website, and I'll be adding it as a downloadable PDF soon.
Here you can go to sign up for the transpersonal release sessions with James or any of the healings available, as well as the teleconferences. The next tab over is James's schedule. It has his bio, new updates and information, a photo or two. And then if you're not coming to the ranch and you want to see where James is going to be, if you look at James's schedule, it shows what's happening. And again, this is updated so as things take place, but he'll be at Contact in the Desert and some other activities. Again, so that is our private invitation, ECETI.com website. It is where you go to find all the information about what's happening at the ranch. And you can also join James's Eden's newsletter just from that front page. We spoke a little bit about the healing negative influences process, and I will be uploading, will probably be up there by the time you see this video, an audio recording that goes through the healing negative influences process. It's a big part about what James talks about in keeping your space clear. There is the long explanation. It's also in every single one of James's books, and this is the short version. And remember, it's intention, not perfection. And this is a tool that we use before every event. When there is energy around the crew, if buttons are being pushed, we own our stuff and do the clearing. It is also the clearing that starts all of our client sessions as well. And this is now on the website. We're going to segue into the different healing modalities available at ECETI. And this image is not an out of focus image. This is actually a picture that was taken while James was actually going out of body while in a Tibetan meditation. And we have pictures of Joseph and myself and others going through this experience as well. In fact, you'll see the background of James's As You Wish Talk Radio banner is a photo taken on Crystal Mountain in Joshua Tree when a group of us went into meditation and went out of body and were taken up on a craft. We went into an inner earth craft as well as a star being craft. And as we were coming back, someone shot the photo, and you can see that most of us are still not quite all the way back yet. So let's talk about the healing modalities available at ECETI. The first is what James is known for, the transpersonal release sessions with James Gillen. Joseph does quantum shamanic alchemy healing. That is done in person. It is not done remotely. James's brother Jay does beautiful massage, deep tissue massage, recalibration massage when he's here at the ranch. He also does cranial sacral and does work with a machine like a Tesla machine for assisting guests that are inclined to partake of those services. I do spiritual counseling that is done both remotely and in person. Be aware it's not a clairvoyant reading. This spiritual counseling is working with Ezekiel and the multidimensional beings to support you in moving past blocks and limitations by tuning into your higher self and asking the questions that allow your conscious mind to have those aha moments. In addition, I co-facilitate, co-create, if you will, actually I facilitate and co-create with those that join us, the weekly healing teleconference. This has been going on now for just about a year, and it's a beautiful weekly gathering. We have a lot of regulars and we have newbies that come in for specific topics. It's a way of feeling part of the community. We always begin with the healing negative influences process. I then share the information that is the educational information about the topic of the night. We then move into a healing and recalibration meditation that allows the knowledge of the mental body that was shared in the educational portion to be integrated energetically and multidimensionally. We'll talk more about those in a second. So the transpersonal release session with James. This is done with the table tipping, if you have seen James at workshops or lectures and on YouTube. And it is done with a male-female balance. I'm often the one that assists James in doing these. Lori does as well. Vicky perhaps may as well. As I said, we always start with clearing the entities, creating sacred space. As James says, your consciousness can only expand to the level that it feels comfortable. And if there's a lot of bugs and gremlins buzzing around, your consciousness won't be able to expand. And many times, issues that you're having in your life, trials or tribulations, are related to this energy that has been attached. Doesn't mean you're a bad person or have done anything wrong. Just being out in 3D land, you encounter entities. After the space, James asks the name of your main teacher and guide, the being who is walking with you at this time of your journey of remembering who you are. It may be a master or a star being that you have knowledge of, and it may be a name that you haven't yet been introduced to. It doesn't mean that those guides or ascended masters that you have been interacting with are gone. It just means that this teacher and guide is stepping forward, perhaps to help you through a specific remembering or initiation. So we get the name of the main teacher and guide, and also what dimension they're from or what realm they're from. And then with your main teacher and guide, the journey can... The first aspect is clearing the past lives that are no longer serving you. Please understand that James is all about frequency, not about story. There are many beautiful healers that can assist individuals with past life regressions and going through the story. But James's intention is to get to the root cause, clear away any wounds or traumas, any old karmic connections that are hanging on, any misinterpretations of experiences, and sending that back to source, so that only the light and the initiation and the learning and wisdom of that past life or parallel life or aspect or timeline, depending on how you language your multidimensional self, that only the light and the wisdom remains in your energy field. Again, if you are drawn to have a past life regression, there are many beautiful facilitators who do that. What we encourage you is to be aware of not repeating your story of your past life over and over and over again, because sometimes that can re-anchor in the wounding from that lifetime. Please be aware that when a number is shared with you of how many past lives are cleared, that doesn't mean those are the only past lives you've had. It means those are the ones that can benefit you by clearing away any wounding or trauming and integrating in the wisdom. After clearing the past lives, then finds out how many lives are important for you to know about. Aspects that perhaps your multidimensional self is knowing it is important for you to connect in with, to support you on your remembering who you are, to assist you in what brings you your greatest joy, to help explain certain things about your journey. So after we find out how many lives are important for you to know about, for each one, James asks if it's on planet or off planet. And if it is on planet, when and where, and if it is off planet, in what dimension, and perhaps what role you played or what the importance is. And sometimes it's neither on planet or off planet, but actually an inner earth aspect or lifetime. So with this information, you can play with connecting in to those aspects of yourselves or past lifetime, or understand certain initiations that you have gone through. Again, this doesn't mean those are the only lives you've experienced. It only means that in this current time, those are the lives that your higher self knows are important for you to connect into. Part of the remote session is going through a timeline of this life from birth to current. Usually what comes up is childhood, when misunderstandings took place, when the light that you came in with was dampened down, perhaps with nightmares or night terrors, perhaps with being told to sit down and shut up, to be seen but not heard, or perhaps it was the death of a loved one or something that even from an adult's eyes would seem traumatic. And in finding each age, then James clears the wounds and the traumas and the wrong conclusions, sends those back to source, and only the truth of the highest wisdom of those experiences is integrated back into your energy fields, letting go of the trauma. Sometimes people know exactly what that age represents. And sometimes people are surprised that a certain age doesn't come up. And when it doesn't come up, what that usually means, and we check into it, is that you've already cleared the trauma and integrated the wisdom, because that's what this session is all about. Clearing the wounds and trauma and integrating the wisdom and the understanding and returning back to your authentic life. After the timeline, James then asks your main teacher and guide to give you an initiation or a bliss blast, and that fills up all the spaces, all the energy that has been transmuted, rather than leaving it a void. We bring back in a blessing from your main teacher and guide who assists in recalibrating you to your highest light frequency at this time. It also gives you an opportunity to feel into what your energy feels like when your main teacher and guide is with you, how they represent. You may feel a coolness or a warmth or a tingling in a part of your body. Each person is different. Even if you share the same main teacher and guide with someone else, the way you perceive it is uniquely you. It may not be exactly the same way someone else perceives it. And this session is done both in person at the ranch and remotely. When it's done in person, James and whoever's assisting him are up in the meditation room, and you are sitting there and going through the session item by item, and you have an opportunity to ask questions as we go through it. If it's done remotely, you go into a meditative state wherever you are on the planet. We're not on Skype or on the phone because this session is more powerful when you are in a meditative state. James and I then do the session. All the information is written down and emailed to you in a recap form. You are then asked to go to another page on our website to register for a recap call that I am honored to do with you. That call lasts about 2 hours. We go through first satisfying your mental body, and then we go through your recap in a meditative form so that it is integrating through all your energy fields. Before the session concludes, you also have the opportunity to ask 3 questions. And the reason we say 3 is because this is not about you giving your power away to James to tell you how to run your life. The most beneficial questions are one that give you clarity on experiences or contact you may have had throughout your life, or more clarity on a choice that you may be about to make and asking what's your highest and best. On the website, there are some examples of questions to ask, and you can always send in an email if you're having a remote session to get input on the questions before you make up your mind of what you want to ask. In order to prepare for the remote sessions, we ask that you submit your questions by 5 p.m. the night before your session. For in-person sessions, you bring your questions with you. But there are certain questions we no longer answer. The first is, should I leave my partner, my husband, my wife, my boyfriend, my girlfriend? The second, should I pay my taxes? Actually, yes, someone submitted that question. And the one that seems to be coming a lot is one we will not answer is, tell me the day and time when I will leave the planet, when I will ascend. Can you think into why perhaps these are not questions that we will answer? The first is, we have in the past answered this question, and then we get the call from the angry husband or wife who said their partner told them James said it was in their highest and best to leave them. That's not owning your own stuff. Don't put the blame or the credit on the choices that you make in your journey on James. Step into your own power. Normally when this question is being asked, it is because there is something that is out of balance. It may be your own buttons and healing, and you may be in victim mode blaming your partner. Or it may be that as you grow, you've shifted into a different frequency vibration, and your partner may be on a different journey of self-mastery. And that does happen. Contracts come to an end. The question of should I pay my taxes, that's probably pretty obvious why that's not a question that James is going to answer. And the date time when I will leave the planet is also not a question that James will answer. One, because that is not something that your higher self is going to tell you in advance, or very, very rarely. And if you are focused on leaving the planet, do you think you've done the work that you're meant to do while you're here? There are many people who say they don't want to be here, and we understand that the frequency of 3D can be challenging at times. But as you realize you've come here to remember your self-mastery, and you look at Gaia Sophia, the beauty of her natural, unpolluted sanctuaries, whether it's the oceans or the mountains or the deserts, you understand that it is not the earth that is the problem. It is the wounding in the collective consciousness and the power over others program. And as each of you step into your own self-mastery, remember the light, love, and truth that you are, you become an instrument for change in manifesting the fifth dimensional realm that we all know is possible. The session, whether it's remote or in person, is a donation of $175 per session. In person, it's 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how much you have to clear. And remotely, as I've shared, it is the remote actual session that you tune into from where you are, as James and his assistant does the clearing. It is then the actual written recap and the email, followed up by the meditation that's about 2 hours, which is then recorded and sent to you. Now, if you live internationally and you need to do the recap by Skype, you will be responsible for recording it. I don't record Skype. I do want to share with you that just as you have bills to pay, a roof over your head, in car insurance, repairs, so does the ranch as well. But James holds space for those who perhaps don't have the paper with the squiggles on it. This is something that we pondered on for quite some time, of how to find a balance for energy exchange. Through my own meditation, Ezekiel shared with me the way he recommends we handle and interact and support those who would like to have a remote transpersonal release session, but perhaps can't budget $175. If you are in that situation, and be truthful, because fair value exchange is an important part of abundance and prosperity consciousness. But there's no judgment if you're not in that space. If you send an email, what I will ask back of you is, we would love to support you. Share with me what you would like to offer as an energy exchange. Perhaps you are an amazing artist and you can assist us with drawing some of the multidimensional beings that we see. Perhaps you have computer skills and we'd be happy to help with some of the administrative tasks that can be done remotely. Perhaps you'd be happy to listen to some of the old As You Wish talk radio episodes that do not have a 4 or 5 sentence write-up in the archives, and you can do an energy exchange by listening to several of those, writing 4 or 5 sentences for each one and emailing that to us so we can update our archives. Or maybe you have a talent or skill that we haven't even considered. So we are open to energy exchange. That truly is fifth dimensional living. It is interesting, however, that in the past year, as we instituted this energy exchange for the sessions, when I presented to those who were asking for scholarships or free sessions an opportunity to share with us what they would like to exchange, only 1 out of 10 people ever got back to me. Most just fell away. Some of that might be out of embarrassment, but that's again about you being able to speak your truth without being concerned about what other people think. There is no shame in asking to do an energy exchange. But oftentimes it's because people are in a victim program. Poor me, I'm poor, I need someone to give their time and give me a session for free. Again, I'm not judging, but our experience is that if someone's not willing to do an energy exchange, they're not going to step into their self-mastery and own their own stuff. They're caught up in the victim or the martyr program. The energy exchange, whether it's in kind or whether it's in currency, provides that mutual recognition and support. So be creative if indeed you would benefit from that type of energy exchange. Send an email and I'll be glad to chat with you. This is a video, there are more on this YouTube channel, of one of the transpersonal release sessions that was filmed using Krillin photography. You can see the change in the energy as the healing and the guide comes in and taking over the room. Again, there are more of these are some of the beings that come through as main teachers and guides. And if you've read any of James's books or seen him talk in presentations, you may be familiar with some of these beings. Bagit is the fifth dimensional feline being from the Sirian star system. She's actually one of the many fifth dimensional feline beings. James encountered her when he was brought onto the fifth dimensional Sirian craft. These images are artist drawings from James's description, so they're not 100%, but they are very close. We often laugh and say, when you think of the fifth dimensional feline beings, think of Avatar. Not exactly that, but close to the beings in the movie Avatar. The sixth dimensional Sirian beings are more panther-like, and the seventh dimensional feline beings are the beautiful lion beings, 17 foot tall for the male and 14 foot tall for the female. You may have heard James speak of Bokal and Kaha, the masculine and the feminine lion beings. The picture on the right with the white cap and the gold light is Malia, the sixth dimensional master initiator from the Orion Council of Light. Again, if you've read James's books or heard him speak, you've heard him talk about his bathtub meditation when he was asking for clarity to understand why all of these craft were flying around his ranch up here in Trout Lake. And Malia appeared and shot a golden light into his chest that was the full download of his past lives or parallel life memories. And he understood he had been and has been on many of these star systems. There is actually the image in his presentations that shows that he got a little bit of a burn, not painful, but enough to let him know that this was indeed a real experience. In the bottom left, you see an artist rendering of Blaji, the seventh dimensional Palladian master teacher who comes from 2 million years in the future back to assist us in our awakening and healing program. And there are many, many more beings, and this summer we will continue to have more artist renderings done that will assist you. Now you may see your main teacher and guide, perhaps it's Bagit, and maybe it looks just a little bit different. Don't let your mental body try to convince you that you're not seeing her. Again, we all perceive in different ways. These are giving you indications. The next slide is going to have a song accompany it, so I'm going to explain it a little bit before we go into it. We have been interacting with the benevolent Anunnaki for quite some time here at ECETI. James talks about this in his book, Anunnaki Return. And James and I have been working for quite some time on assisting in the New Republic and the clearing of the gold that was initially meant to be for humanitarian purposes. And this gold goes all the way back to the time of the benevolent Anunnaki who came to the land, actually an ancient land which is now known as Australia. James has spoken about this when he speaks about the Gosford glyphs. The glyphs in Gosford that actually show the story of the Anunnaki coming first and then the Pleiadians coming afterwards. Because of their atmosphere, the Anunnakis came to planet Earth to mine the gold to save their home realm. There have been many stories talking about the fallen Anunnaki, the negative Anunnaki, but it is James's information that has brought through the understanding of the benevolent Anunnaki who were aligned with universal law. And when they came to the planet, and as they made the agreement with the humanoid beings that were here, that in exchange for those humanoid beings doing the physical mining of the gold, the Anunnaki would accelerate the awakening and the DNA energy of these humanoid beings so that they would gain higher levels of consciousness in a shorter amount of time. Now, when coming into this realm, there is that energetic that is different, and free will comes into play, and the duality program begins to become apparent. Marduk, one of the Anunnaki, got caught up in that program. And he mated with a humanoid being, creating hybrids, which was against the universal law of the Anunnaki. And so when the benevolent Anunnaki left, Marduk was not allowed to return home. And it kind of pissed him off. And thus, the whole programming of the reptilian power over others program became fully entrenched on the earth plane. The gold that is backing the humanitarian efforts as we shift into the higher frequencies here on Earth goes all the way back. It is carbon dated back to an area now known as Ballarat in Australia, which of course in those ancient times did not have that name. In tuning in to assist in the clearing of this gold, James and I both experienced the grief and the tragedy and the betrayal and the torture and the atrocity that was attached to this gold as it was hijacked, taken out of being for humanitarian reasons, and used to fund more power over others' programs. You've heard James talk many times about the backlash that we perceived and were subjected to, and we held firm and continue to hold firm in doing that clearing. One of the things I do want to mention about the gold is we kind of have a joke because the revaluation is always going to happen next Tuesday. It is important to let go of attachment to how your Zim, your Nasara, your Yong, your Dong, whatever currency you've invested in, how that is going to change your life like the lucky lottery ticket coming in. The poverty program, the debt program, is a mind control program instituted by the powers that were, the Archonic network, to keep humanity enslaved, to keep you in a way of struggling for many just to keep a roof over their head, because when you're focused on that, It is much more of a challenge to tune in and own your self-mastery and share your light. Much of the games and the betrayals and the attempts to divert this gold from backing humanitarian programs comes from the last-ditch efforts of the Archons and the Illuminati to maintain control. And they have put mind control programs in place around the humanitarian gold as well. So those healers or teachers, we speak from our heart when we say to you, if you have been waiting to walk your mission until your lottery ticket comes in, let go of the attachment. Breathe into that. Can you feel into how the gold has started to have the lack attachment projected around it by those who have gone through saying, as soon as this money comes in, I get to begin living my life. It is time to walk your mission now, regardless of whether that gold funds or not. There has been some delay in it happening, mainly because of the powers that were holding on for dear life, literally, but also because it will not benefit the awakening and healing process if those that receive the gold are still caught up in that lack program, the energy attachment to it. Hold space for it happening and let go of attachment. So as I bring up the images now for Enha, the golden goddess from the benevolent Anunnaki, and Rael, a beautiful masculine benevolent Anunnaki, there will be about a 2-minute song that will be accompanying that. And after seeing the images of Enha and Rael, I encourage you to close your eyes and allow the frequency and the words of this song to wash over you. About 6 months after the 9th dimensional benevolent Anunnaki golden goddess Enha made herself known in one of our multidimensional star family connection sessions, James received the download of the words to what became the song. And this song is performed by our dear spirit sister Andrea from the Outback Gypsies. Anunnaki Return. You can get this song at cdbaby.com. Feel into it. For many, it is a very powerful activation song. So sit back and enjoy.
Built your ancient temples. We came to right a wrong. We left our children to oversee a civilization at its dawn. Our children, they have fallen, forgotten noble virtue. They were left here to serve our seeds we left behind. Like those who serve them have fallen just as well. Yet now it is time to awaken. Vanity Divinity standing tall. Slaves were not yours. We were meant to walk as one. Now we have returned when all is said and done. Tyrants' days are over. Separation, greed, and control. It is time to lead yourself from your own heart and soul. Come to awaken, heal and empower. It is written in your prophecies, the budding of the flower. Know that your divine is seated in the gods. Waters are pouring, love so sublime. All the children, those young and old, we are now returning, as the prophecies have told. I pay those who serve them have fallen just as well. Yet now it is time to awaken. Divinity standing tall. Divinity standing tall. Divinity standing tall. We are here to mine the hearts for everlasting gold.
And take a deep breath in, integrating in the energies, the frequency of the activation in that song. Now it is time to awaken. Divinity standing tall. It is time to lead yourself from your own heart and soul. Self-mastery. In addition to James's transpersonal release session, there are also other forms of healing available at the ranch. One that is done only at the ranch, not remotely, is the quantum shamanic alchemy healing with Chief Joseph. It incorporates the practical applications of quantum physics, alchemy, shamanism, and also matrix energetics. And Joseph has taken the teachings from his journey and has powerful sessions with guests that are here at the ranch. Joseph also talks about his own spiritual path. He grew up in Okinawa, and he was visited by inner earth beings known as the brownies. At least that's what he called them. During his time in Okinawa, when he was about 2 or 3, his family lived in a home that had a wall, kind of a compound around it, so he was allowed to play outside at free will while his mother was inside taking care of the chores. What would happen is these brownies would show up and take Joseph into the inner earth and traveling multidimensionally. And more than once his mother would come out to look for him and scour the entire yard, and Joseph wouldn't be anywhere. One time, in fact, someone drove up. A woman came up to the compound, walked in, and said to Joseph's mom, "I think this is your son, Junior." Joseph's mom was quite taken aback because she had seen Joseph in the yard just a little while earlier, and then he had disappeared. Joseph's mom didn't know this woman, and she was quite surprised to hear this woman say that she found Joseph, or Junior as he was called, on the far side of the Okinawa Islands, a place he could not possibly have gotten to if someone had taken him by car and gotten back in the amount of time between when his mom had last seen him. Joseph's mom embraced her little boy and then looked up to tell the woman thank you, and she had mysteriously disappeared. Joseph's coming to ECETI helped him because there were several people that he encountered here who knew exactly what he meant when he talked about the brownies. He describes them kind of like the character in the movie E.T., although without the long neck. Joseph also channels a very ancient galactic elder referred to as the grandfather. The information comes through in light language. And during our camping and Skywatch weekends, Joseph also does a lecture on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual detox. Joseph's Chiron wounded healer journey was suffering from psoriasis and eczema for over 20 years, over 98% of his body, 3 fingernails growing on top of each other, skin so thick that he couldn't pierce it with a nail. His journey through the medical system showed him how our healthcare system has nothing to do with wellness and everything to do with big pharma and taking your money and keeping you sick. So he does these lectures, complimentary lectures, during the weekends to share his information along with not only physical but mental, emotional, and spiritual detoxing as well. And on the store, on the private invitation ECETI.com website, you can find his topical application for relief that is all natural, safe for little ones. Our youngest client was a 2-week-old newborn, as well as the process for internal cleansing. And you can always be in touch if you have more questions. So that's the quantum shamanic alchemy healing with Joseph. Jay Gilliland, James's brother, is a powerful bodywork massage therapist. He spends half of the time in Mexico and the other half of his time up here in Trout Lake. And he also teaches workshops internationally. Jay is a master bodywork with structural alignment techniques and body reading. It's more than just a massage, along with the energetic modalities of Reiki, craniosacral therapy. And he also does energy work and balancing using the most recent technology. For all of these sessions, when you book your weekend, it will tell you what healing modalities are available. In addition, Jay is a very talented holotropic breath work practitioner and teacher. During our conference in July, on the workshop day, Jay will be doing an intensive, and he will also be doing a weekend holotropic breath work in the fall. That's a very deep connection, for we shallow breathe, we lock in limiting energies and emotions, and as we learn the proper breath, much of that begins to be purged. Very powerful sessions. I do spiritual counseling both remotely and in person, and I have a varied background including sound healing, flower essences, spiritual, kinesiology, and I was a healer through Australia for many years. My work here at ECETI also includes, as I said, assisting James with the transpersonal release sessions, and during the remote recaps, I bring through channeled information from the highest frequencies and integrating that recap session into your being. The spiritual counseling that I do, as I said, is not a clairvoyant session. It's not about telling your fortune or answering questions. It's about finding what are the wounds that are limiting or blocking you and assisting you with the guidance of your higher self in coming to those awarenesses and recalibrating. It is my honor to. I also have the honor to co-create, as I mentioned earlier, our weekly teleconference series. Last winter, James and I were meditating on how we could continue to support the community through the time when the ranch is closed. And James was doing traveling and couldn't do as many remote sessions. And the guidance we got was to actually have these weekly teleconference series where our community members from around the globe can come together in a supportive. As I mentioned earlier, each week features a unique focus based on the theme presented in meditation. They are knowledge, they are healing, and integration. Teleconference calls take place weekly on Wednesdays from 5:30 Pacific time till 8 o'clock Pacific time. And for those of you who cannot join, recordings are available for purchase after. We are working on deeper clearing of mind control programs in the Wednesday, March 22nd teleconference. And on the website, Private Invitation ECETI, it will list what the topic is for the upcoming week, depending on when you actually watch the presentation. What's happening this season at ECETI? First, we want to share that we're open every year from May until about November, depending on weather. And we all smile when people say, but how come you're not open year-round? Well, some of these images from this year's winter might answer that. It gets a little bit snowy and a little bit cold. In fact, this is the picture out of my office window this winter. You see how high that snow is? Now, some of that is drifts, but we had a good 4 to 5 feet in. That's Joseph's and my RV. You can actually barely see it between what's on top of the roof and the snow drifted up beside. In addition, it gets quite cold. The sun goes down about 4 or 4:30, so dark. This was actually a heat wave, a high of 38 and a low of 13 on the Tuesday. So it's a little bit too cold. We actually have a camper's block of bathrooms and we turn the water off so it doesn't freeze and rupture the pipes during the winter. So we are closed during the period from November until we reopen again in May. And in addition, because our crew and James pretty much go non-stop from the moment we open until the season closes, we too need time to regenerate and spend that quality time within and take some deep breaths so we can fully step forward and support our guests during our summer season. We have 4 types of events at ECETI. Is our casual camping and Skywatch weekends. And during these weekends, you can arrive at the ranch as early as Thursday at 3 o'clock and leave as late as Monday noon. And we'll go into each of these a little bit more. Our second type of event is our workshop weekends, when we have amazing interactive gatherings with leading experts in a variety of consciousness fields. Now, because we are creating a unity consciousness during these weekend workshops, and we are continually doing clearings and raising the vibration. When we actually have a workshop at the ranch, it is exclusive to those individuals attending the workshop. There are many casual camping and Skywatch weekends if you want to come and experience the ranch, not part of a workshop. But during the workshop weekend, it is exclusive for those who are registered for the workshop. Our annual conference or workshop takes place the 4th of July weekend every year. During this weekend, we have an amazing gathering of speakers and presenters and a huge soul family reunion. As you reconnect with people you haven't yet met in the physical in this lifetime, but when you see them, you know you have known them before. At this time, we only have 12 accommodation rooms on the ranch. So during our conference, those are all taken up by our speakers. So it is camping only during the annual conference. We have 70 acres, plenty of room. You can dry camp with your RV. And there are also many bed and breakfasts and motels and cabins in the Trout Lake and surrounding areas. Because that is a very popular weekend, we do recommend that if you're not comfortable camping, and we know some people are not, that you do get your accommodations first at a local bed and breakfast or motel before registering for the conference, because you want to make sure you have a place to lie your head down at night. And if you act early, it's not a problem. We have a new event that we're starting this year, our ECETI Barn Raising and Sustainability event. We're going to launch our opening weekend with an event we're calling ECETI Off the Grid, which is a sustainability expo, our first weekend, May 4th to 7th. And this will bring together experts in a variety of fields related to sustainability. And then throughout the year, the summer season, each month we will be doing one barn raising event, which will take one of the specialties discussed at the expo and give guests the hands-on opportunity to be a part of actually creating or implementing that sustainable modality. It is helping ECETI walk and talk our talk as we move even further into sustainability. It also allows many of our community to fulfill their intention of having their energy here in the land by assisting in bringing together some of the advancements that will be happening on the. So some of the speakers that we will have at the expo in May and then at the weekend events are treehouse builders. Joseph had the opportunity to attend the annual World Treehouse Conference down near Grants Pass, Oregon last fall. He met some amazing people who really honor the trees. Many of them were the presenters for those of you that watch those HGTV type shows with the treehouse building. But they met a beautiful gentleman who really understands the consciousness of the trees, is mindful himself, and so he will be coming out to speak at the expo, and then we will do a weekend where you get to pitch in and help, and we'll actually build a treehouse platform, and you'll learn those. We're continuing to expand our organic gardening with more aquaponics. We will talk about solar power and free energy building and other sustainable forms of building and construction. So you can see as this image, you have the tree houses, you have kombucha making. We have a gentleman who is a wild mushroom grower who will be teaching and explaining the nutrients in the mushrooms. Aquaponics. We have beekeeping. As you may have read, it's very important to keep those bees alive and pollinating and have the plant life for them to live on. The earth mud bag building, you can see kind of the image here, and this is one in construction. Actual earth ship building. This is actually canvas tents from Canvas Camp, which are quite sustainable for an individual. It takes about 15 minutes to put up, so we'll be building platforms for those. And of course, we'll be discussing free energy. So keep an eye out. More will be added to the website every week. We'll go more into our camping Skywatch weekends. These are our casual weekends. You can arrive, as I said earlier, as early as 3 p.m. on Thursday and depart as late as noon on Monday. Please, please, we feel for you if your days off are Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but please honor that the ranch is closed on those days. Partially because we have to turn over the rooms and clean. We have to do gardening. Oftentimes that's when James is doing interviews for other radio shows. And it's also that the crew is holding space for themselves so that they can be more present when our guests come. If your only days off are Tuesday and Wednesday, we ask you to plan ahead and get a vacation day during the weekend. We do not open Monday after 12 noon, and we are closed again until 3 o'clock on Thursday. And we thank you for honoring James's need for regeneration and the crew as well. So enough of that. Back to the camping and Skywatch weekends. So you can come and stay for one night or as much as 4 nights during those weekends. And you can stay here at the ranch, whether you rent one of our rooms or you camp, or you can stay off property. If you are staying on site, we provide skywatching on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. James always does the Fridays and Saturdays when he's in town, and on the website we let you know if he's not going to be here. And either he or one of our other crew members do the Thursday or Sunday nights. If you are choosing to stay off property at one of the local motels, you are welcome to come for Skywatch on Friday and Saturday night only. We do not open Skywatch to people staying off-site on Thursday or Sunday night. The donation for those staying off-site for Skywatch is $10 per person, and you do need to sign up for that ahead of time on the registration page for the appropriate weekend of the year that you're coming for Skywatch. And remember, if it's a workshop weekend, you are not able to come for Skywatch only. You must be a participant in the workshop. In addition to Skywatch, the other activities that take place during these casual Skywatch weekends are meditations, lectures such as the one I mentioned that Joseph does. We show films that are related, whether they're documentaries featuring James or topics that are very pertinent to what's happening at the time. We have on Saturday and Sunday mornings a walking meditation through our Galactic Medicine Wheel. Of course, you can sign up for any of the optional healings. Those are at an additional donation. And there is time to just be here with the land, connecting in with the vortex, as I mentioned earlier, the Palladian Circle or Lemurian Hill. We often encourage guests to do automatic writing or automatic drawing. And this year we will also be including a meditation specifically on teaching how to do the healing negative influences process, how to connect in with the vortex energy of the land and the mountain. And we will also be having times inviting guests to sit down and chat and share their stories with each other. Many people share with us that there's no one in their neighborhood that they feel comfortable talking about their experiences with. That's one of the great things coming to the ranch, is no one here thinks you're crazy because they've all had unusual experiences. During the camping and Skywatch weekends, there are also opportunities to lend a hand. We always have weeding to do or watering to do or other chores. So when you come, you can camp in your own tent or you can dry camp in an RV. We do not have hookup. There is a local RV park, and that is listed on the frequently asked questions on the website. You can sleep in your van or your other vehicle. The way our camping donation works is it is $30 per night per tent or RV or vehicle, and that covers up to 3 people in that site. Our accommodation ranges from 65 to 75, and we have the one Eagle's Nest at 85, and it is per night again. So you're paying per room per night, up to 3 people in each room. During the camping and Skywatch weekends, we also offer the service of an organic breakfast for $12 per person inclusive. It includes tax and gratuity and your coffees. And we do ask that you order that in advance because we are 40 minutes from the nearest grocery store and we need to make sure that we do have the ingredients. It's a little bit harder to do it last minute, so we ask that you order in advance. Registration is required to come to ECETI, and that private invitation ECETI.com website under the calendar has the links to the registration for the events. If your event that you're wanting to attend, such as a workshop, is not open yet, just subscribe to the ECETI newsletter, because as we open each event, we will send out a notice letting you know that registration is now open. All registration for all of the casual camping and Skywatch weekends is already open, so you don't have to wait. I want to take a moment and talk about the invitation scenario. Many of you may have been following James for quite some time, listening to him on the radio show, and you're aware that there was a time when a lot of attempts were made to shut down the ranch. Legal case after legal case. And it was during that time that James became aware through Spencer and Nate and Winston Shrout of the concept of sovereignty and how it's important to withdraw the address of the property from the local government and the county in order to stand sovereign. During the time of those court cases, the advice was given to request people ask for an invitation to come to the ranch. Now, as we are a land patent, sovereign land estate, and beyond that, we are also now a consulate. You do not need to have an invitation to come to the ranch. You can go to the website and sign up on those pages. So don't wait for us to respond saying, yes, you're invited. You may go ahead and register. For those of you who have an interest in the sovereignty subject and the land patent, Winston Shrout, our dear brother, every Labor Day does a weekend workshop on that exact topic. He is expanding it into talking also about commerce in a fifth dimensional reality. Winston Shrout from Solutions in Commerce has his own website, and he is a fountain of knowledge. Now, many say yes, but he's been brought up on charges. He has been brought up on charges many times, and he shows the court that he has the knowledge to keep them from railroading him. You may often have felt that the 1% knows some secret passwords or a secret handshake, for nothing seems to stick to them no matter what they do. That's in fact the truth. They know the secret keys of how the game is played. And Winston, as a student for life, is constantly updating his knowledge and wisdom base. And again, he will share that over the Labor Day weekend. This all goes back into that concept of an invitation. You may now go to the private invitation ECETI.com website and register without a formal invitation. So the Camping Skywatch weekends, there are one or more every month. We do let people know if it is a holiday weekend so they're not surprised and have to cancel. These are all on that website, the private invitation ECETI.com, with the links to click here. Let's talk now about our workshop weekends. And again, I'm going to repeat because we get this question every year. Yes, during the workshop weekends, the ranch is closed to those who are attending the workshop. Some people get worried because we talk about our casual weekends as camping and Skywatch weekends. Don't worry, we do camping and Skywatch and have Skywatch gatherings during every event we have here at the ranch. It's not that we're not doing Skywatch during the workshop weekends. It is included with those programs. So again, we're launching the year May 4th to 7th with our ECETI Off the Grid, our Sustainability Expo. And I'm just putting the fine touches to that speaker's program, and that registration will be open by April 1st. The weekend of May 18th to 21st, James will be down at Contact in the desert. And because he'll be down there, oftentimes people don't want to come to the ranch when he's not here, but we're going to do one of our barn raising events. So if you want to come in and pitch in, as soon as I have that calendar up, you'll see which event is happening every month. The weekend after Contact in the Desert is James's Self-Mastery Workshop. It is always Memorial Day weekend. And this is his foundational workshop. It's a very powerful interactive. It is his signature foundational workshop. And he tears and gives you a basic foundational understanding of what self-mastery is, about how important it is to own your own power and what that looks like and feels like in a day-to-day reality. A lot of emphasis put on understanding the importance of healing negative influences and how to recognize them, and how to move beyond the fear which actually feeds those lower level entities into the knowingness that when you raise your vibration and you stay in your center and your heart and you call on multidimensional assistance, you can clear those entities. For some, it takes a few initiations to truly understand that, and that is part of the teaching that will happen at this self-mastery workshop. In addition, there will be interaction out in the field, connecting in with the different vortexes, doing meditation, doing daytime sky watching, to be more and more aware that the craft are always there. Again, this is a very participatory workshop weekend, and please understand that James holds space in the now moment of the gathering, and the workshop flows based on the co-creation of the energy of those who are drawn to attend and what is happening globally and multidimensionally at that time. So it is a very organic and fluid and in the now moment workshop. If you feel you need to know exactly what is going to happen and your mental body needs to control, this may be a powerful initiation for you because it's not going to flow that way. Again, it is a very much understanding what's happening in the multidimensional levels. As we say to people, tune in. Does your higher self encourage you to attend? And trust your own discernment. Again, that is the Memorial Day weekend, and registration is open for this event now. The weekend of June 8th to 11th, Michael Tellinger will be here. He'll be teaching, I just found out, from Friday evening through to Saturday. He'll be talking about creating Ubuntu communities around the world, his One Small Town Action Program. He'll be sharing how he has towns in several countries where the mayor and the legislature is actually supporting the concept of contributionism, where the community comes together, shares their gifts and their resources to create goods and services that initially they sell to neighboring communities to bring in the abundance. And it is a beautiful example in real-time application of the bridge between our current third dimensional commercialism and eventually the fifth dimensional realm without commerce, without currency. Commerce as an exchange versus using paper, squiggles on it, or plastic cards with numbers on it. So Michael will be teaching Friday afternoon and Saturday, and then he'll be leaving to go to his next stop, and James will be doing teaching a half day on Sunday. That will soon be resolved as to what that will be. James is coming back to Trout Lake after being in Maui. He'll be here in about a week's time as I record this. I'm recording this on the spring equinox, which is interesting. So we'll get those details finalized and get that information out there. June 22nd to 25th, we will be holding our New Moon Elders Gathering. We have sent invitations out to First Nations elders from different tribes and nations. Understand that this is a gathering speaking to the Star Nation prophecies and self-mastery and ascension through the eyes of the Indigenous elders. It is not a journey of victimhood. It is a journey of empowerment, and we're really excited. And there will be special pricing for those who wish to be here for the New Moon Elders Gathering and stay through the July 4th conference. It's a beautiful way to bring in the energy from that new moon into our actual annual conference weekend. So our conference, because the 4th of July is on a Tuesday this year, our conference will kick off Friday about 3 o'clock, flow Saturday, Sunday, Monday till about 6, and then Tuesday will be our optional workshops put on by the presenters. Some of the presenters who will be attending is Ken Rolla from Fresh and Alive. James interviewed him just recently, talking about the Ormus and the healing of the earth, and also talking about his knowledge of connections between scientists and our galactic brothers and sisters, and some of the new technology coming in from that union for healing as well as shifting the chemtrails. And during the workshop he will be putting on, he will actually be doing a hands-on building of a chemtrail buster that we will be lucky to have here at the ranch. Costa Macrius and his partner Hollis Polk are beautiful beings who understand the importance of the connection with enlightened extraterrestrials and also standing in your own power and your own light. Costas and Hollis together are the co-creators of an organization called Let's Talk ET, and they have conscious virtual gatherings around the planet on a monthly basis where the intention is set for people to join consciously together, even though they aren't all different parts of the globe. And they will be speaking about this contact and sharing some of their modalities for making contact. Hollis will also be talking about the aspect of higher clairvoyance into the higher realms, waking up psychic or intuitive abilities to turn into how you perceive. So in natural gift recognition, you're recognizing your natural gift of perception, you can then open that up to enhance your own communication with your star brothers and sisters. In addition to Costas and Hollis, our dear friend Barry, who you saw in one of the opening videos, and we'll see again a little bit later on, will be returning from Kansas as a speaker. He has amazing meditations that he does before his own contact. He will share with you some of the artist renderings of his personal contact experience, and he has the greatest laugh. And he will also be assisting with the Skywatches. You'll hear him talk more about the mountain that disappeared during the conference last year when he and our brother Albert were out actually watching during the day. Of course, James will be speaking. He has lots to share. Jimmy Church from Coast to Coast, he's excited. He's hoping to be here. We'll wait for that final okay to come through. Peter Maxwell Slattery and Solrita Antaria from ECETI Australia. We're still working on making it happen that they will be here, so we're fine-tuning some of these speakers. More will be added and finalized. We've got a couple more that we're waiting to hear from. In addition, I'm really honored and excited about having a representative of the Earth Guardians here at our conference. These young masters are stepping up and standing up and owning their power as guardians of the planet that perhaps they had some fear that their elders or their parents would not protect the planet for the future generations. It was started by a gentleman when he was 11. He is now 22. And there are different presenters that speak across the world, and we will be having one of them here for the conference, and I'm really excited. So this is just a sampling of the presenters that will be here at our annual conference, and that is being finalized, and when James comes back in a few days' time, we'll be able to sit down and put the final pieces together. Again, a newsletter will go out with more information as the more speakers are added. After our annual conference, we have another barn raising of putting sustainability into practical use. And then mid-July, we're excited doing our Young Masters Weekend. On Saturday and Sunday of this weekend, the focus will all be on the wisdom of our youth. There are many parents who contact us who say their intention is to hold space for their children to remember their connections rather than be brainwashed out of it like many were. So this weekend's gathering will include age-appropriate understanding of how to do clearings, assisting them in feeling comfortable with making contact with benevolent star being brothers and sisters. There will be lots of interaction in the fairy grove at the ranch, the elemental grove. There will be flower and planting interaction with the animals that's safe, of course. There will also be active meditations, drumming and music, and a lot of art and creation. They will be guided through a meditation and then be given the tools to actually draw or paint or sketch what they have experienced. 2 years ago, when the Galactic Medicine Wheel was inaugurated here at the ranch, the Galactic Medicine Wheel is like a Native American medicine wheel with the 4 quadrants, but it represents a mothership. Each quadrant is like an exploratory pod, one being the Palladian frequency, another being the Andromedan, the third being Arcturian, the fourth Orion, the outer ring the Sirian, and the inner core the galactic central sun. It was a powerful ceremony when we first activated this medicine wheel. And at that time, James and I separately received messages from our inner earth brothers and sisters that a time would come when they too would ask to have a medicine wheel where people could walk through to tune into the frequencies of the different inner earth kingdoms. Now, oftentimes, as you may be aware, spirit time or source time is very different than human time. And each time we asked if it was time for this inner earth medicine wheel to be launched, we were told, be patient, not yet. Last summer, when I was doing the orientation before walking people through the Galactic Medicine Wheel, and I mentioned the Inner Earth Medicine Wheel, the ambassador from the 5th dimensional Inner Earth Elven Kingdom, her name is Iaga, said to me, the Inner Earth Medicine Wheel will be inaugurated during next year's Young Masters Weekend. So the adults will do the grunt work, and we will set together most of the framework of the medicine wheel. And during the Young Masters Weekend, each young master will be given a stone to paint and decorate, bringing through their own heart-centered depiction of whatever realm they are connected to, the fairy kingdom, the elven kingdom, the dwarf kingdom, whichever kingdom it is, they will paint and decorate a rock. And then we'll be honored to watch these young masters walk in to the medicine wheel and place their stone. And as all the stones of the young masters are placed in the various quadrants, each representing an different inner earth realm, we will then dance and sing and laugh, and the inner earth medicine wheel will be activated. Some of you may be able to feel into how that feels. In addition to the activities for the children, we will also have 2 shorter workshops running concurrently that will support the parents in understanding how they can hold space for their young master while still creating healthy boundaries that assist children in navigating through life. So keep an eye out. The newsletter will go out. We're finalizing all the information, and that will happen in mid-July. We're really excited to launch this program. In early August, during the full moon, we'll have our ECETI barn raising event. One more activity of integrating and putting your energy into what's happening here at ECETI from a facilities perspective. The weekend of August 10th to the 13th, the beautiful Shannon Leischner returns, once again offering the Theta Weekend Workshop. Shannon's obligation with the International Theta Healing Organization is that there is a set price point for the Theta Healing Certification course that all instructors are obligated to charge. We had interest from people last year who wanted to come up and just learn Theta Healing, not to become certified as a practitioner, but to be able to use it for themselves and for their loved ones. Although we were not able to do that last year, this year we will be doing that. So this weekend we'll have 2 options. The basic foundation for those who want to experience Theta Healing will be a 3-day event. And those who want to go on and get the certification will have a 4th day where you will go much more deeper to understand the practitioner aspects of Theta Healing. In addition to the education, the Theta Healing Certification Program also includes your name on the International Theta Healing Practitioner Database, highlighting in your area where you live geographically. If someone goes to that website and looks for a Theta practitioner in their location, as long as you fulfill the obligations of certification, your name will come up. And Shannon has many ongoing support systems for those who take the certification course. This information again will be up by April 1st and open for registration. It's a really beautiful, powerful healing weekend, and Shannon is a shining light. She has a great sense of humor, and she also holds really powerful space for those who are looking to step into the self-mastery. September 1st to 4th, as I mentioned, is the Winston Shrout Preparing for Fifth Dimensional Reality with Commerce, and talking more about the sovereignty and land patent and consulate, and who knows what will have shifted as far as the New Republic comes by September. September 1st to 7th to 10th is another barn raising, putting sustainability into practical use. That is actually a typo. James won't be at Contact in the Desert that weekend. He will be here. And I'm working on getting all that information finalized, some rolling out more this weekend, and then the balance by April 1st. As I mentioned, we'll be doing his holotropic breathwork workshop. It's an intensive, deep breathing and clearing out and releasing deep trauma held in your cells. If you're here for our conference, you'll have the opportunity to experience that in his day event, and then just choose if you'd like to come back again for his workshop. You don't have to do his event after the conference to attend the October workshop. And it's a very powerful, cleansing, healing event. October 19th to 22nd is James's second workshop. He does 2 a year. This is the advanced workshop, if you will, the ambassador workshop that goes even deeper into understanding self-mastery, empowerment, and multidimensional contact. James, when he holds space, he is bringing in a frequency. So even if you have attended one of James's workshops before, being part of the ranch, I obviously have been to many of his events. I sit there and soak up the recalibration. It is such a gift and a blessing to be able to sit in that space as James calls in the multidimensional beings. James sharing his own practical tools and processes, giving you the opportunity to experience. And also you're going off onto the land and experiencing as well. That ambassador workshop write-up will be finished. We're doing a few different things this year, and so that will be up by April 1st. Then our last workshop of the year is Shannon's Advanced Theta Healing Workshop. There are practitioners that got certified last year, also others in her community that have expressed an interest in coming up to the ranch, and so we'll be doing the Advanced Theta Workshop in November. I want to just go back to the conference for a moment, our July 4th conference. I do want to share that here at ECETI, we understand that everyone who comes here is a master in their own right, awakening at their own pace. And we are setting intention very strongly this year for our conference to continue to grow, to be a blending of both educational teaching, speaking to your mental body, but even more important, participatory, involved, practical application and experiencing. We will be coming together as that group to do global healing as well. So please don't be concerned that you're going to be sitting in a conference hall for 4 days with people just talking at you. For the majority of our speakers, we are working with them so that half of their presentation is information and half of it is participatory, practically using what they have shared with you, playing with those energies, doing the meditations or the movement so that you go through your own activation while you are here, and you bring back with you when you go home a true understanding of what it is like to actually integrate that information in your day-to-day life. And we're really excited about that continue shifting in the different type of conference. It's not just people talking at you. So to book a visit, again, you go to privateinvitationeceti.com and you go to the calendar and you click on the calendar to find the event that you'd like to come and attend. This is the actual ECETI 2017 calendar page. It again describes the different types of weekend workshops. We talk about the volunteer weekends first, and then weekend by weekend it's events. So you can click on make a reservation, for example, for a camping and Skywatch weekend, and you're brought to this registration page. You can see where you're able to sign up for Skywatch only, or you can sign up for actually camping or staying on site. So you go over to the side and you click, in this case, it says donation per person for the Skywatch only, and you click how many people are in your party. But let's say you're going to stay here. Under camping, it's the number of campsites that will hold up to 3 people in one tent or one vehicle. You can either put down a non-refundable deposit and pay the balance on site, or you can pay in full and you're paying per night. You see first May 11th, 1 campsite, May 12th, 2 campsites. You've got friends joining you. Sunday, May 13th, 2 campsites, and then going back down to 1. This is a big party coming to the ranch.
Then you can go down and look at the different kinds of room accommodations. And here, for example, for guest room, in the guest house, it's per room. So you're indicating you need one room on Thursday, May 11th, one room on the 12th, one on the 13th, and one on the 14th. You can have up to 3 people in each room, but it's how many rooms per night. Again, you can indicate how many breakfasts that you would like. Not everyone's going to have breakfast each night each morning in this party, but we're indicating that 4 people will have breakfast each morning. We do also have vegetarian and vegan options. Then you can sign up for your healing sessions. So for example, the transpersonal release session with James, you'll see that it has the date and the time. So there's only one option, one choice for each one of those dates and times, because only one person is having a session at a time. And you can sign up for your quantum shamanic alchemy healing. And you can sign up if you want to help. Do you want to help garden? Do you want to help with cleanup? Do you want to just pitch in wherever you can? Now this ticket's a big ticket because there's quite a few people coming. It's not going to be that expensive if there's just a few of you, but I wanted to show you how you indicate both camping and rooms and Skywatch. And then there's more descriptions in the actual body below that we recommend that you read that explains more. So then you get this checkout page. It lists everything you've done. Remember, this is a lot of people in this group, so it's a bigger ticket item. And then you'll just fill in the information like you would if you were booking any other kind of vacation. Your name, your email, your phone number. We ask for your cell phone number because if you're not here by the time our registration is getting ready to close, we want to be able to contact you to find out what's happening. We do ask that people check in no later than 8 o'clock at night, because our crew do have early mornings and they have evening tasks as well. So we have your cell phone so that we can call you if you're not here, and we do that an hour before we're going to close down. So then you would put in the month, date, and year that you're going to be arriving, and you'll notice I forgot which weekend I picked, so I had to go back up to the top here in a moment to see what date of the week, what month I was actually looking at. So that's why it's going to scroll up. Yep, there you go. May 11th, that's the weekend I used for the sample. So I'll go back down. I'll put in the dates I'm arriving and the dates I'm departing. Remember, you can arrive as early as Monday and leave as late as, arrive as early as Thursday, leave as late as Monday. You put the number of people in your party. So I'm guessing there's 7. I'm making it up. And then you put in the names of those that are accompanying you that are part of this registration. If you have friends that are making their own booking for their own room or their own campsite, please don't indicate them on this particular booking. The number of people in your party and the guest names are specifically that are covered by this registration. You see, you can put in your choice of meals if you're getting breakfast, and then let us know if it's your first time. And then you have the choice to either pay with PayPal, or when you click on the Pay Now button, our merchant is PayPal, but you don't have to use PayPal. When you click on this page, you'll see that it comes up and it gives you the option to either pay with PayPal, or that button said pay with debit or credit card. And you then will receive the page where you can put in all your information and actually pay for your booking. You will get a confirmation that writes out everything that you signed up for, and it will also have the code number for our electronic entry gate. Please be aware that that code number changes every week. You don't need to bring the piece of paper with you. We have a master check-in list, but do remember the gate code so you can get in when you. Lots of information. Take a deep breath. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's a good place perhaps to pause, take a little drink of water, stretch. I know it's a lot of information. Those of you that want to continue on, these are just some images from the ranch. The one on the left is in our Palladian circle, and the one on the right shows some daytime craft that's been enlarged so you can see them. And it shows you one of our 4-legged feline friends, very creatively known as Black and White. Just breathing in and allowing that to anchor through you. Ground it out through the bottoms of your feet into the core of Mother Earth. And just be with that feeling. The ECETI community is comprised of ECETI here in Trout Lake, again, which stands for Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Just as your hometown may have a sister city, we also have a strong heart JCETI, which is Japan Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Our dear brother Greg Sullivan brings 2 to 3 beautiful tourist groups of Japanese interested in contact to their ranch every year. Understand, this is not a franchise. It is not part of ECETI from a corporate structure. It is just a very strong heart connection with an individual and a community in Japan that is also holding space for that enlightened contact. Of course, ECETI Australia with Peter Maxwell Slattery and Solrita Antaria. This is the structure, if you will, of the sister cities or the sister sanctuaries of ECETI that big up the ECETI community. The most important activity, however, is you. Each and every one of you, whether you join us virtually through the teleconferences or through James's radio show or see James at other events, or whether you come out when the time is right to visit us here at ECETI. You are why James does what he does, the greater you of humanity, and holding space for that awakening and healing process. Pitching in, that's the best way to get to know the real James. We oftentimes get phone calls and emails from people who have said, my higher self, my guide said, I have to speak with you, James. And we honor each and every one of you that have that message. But please understand, as multidimensional as James is, he is still one human being. And so he does not have the time, the ability to personally return every phone call or every email. That is why we encourage people to join things like the weekly teleconference call. But one of the best ways to get to know the real James is to actually come and pitch in. Now this is a good time if you want to take a little bit break. You can pause there. We've been going for just a little over 2 hours. We're going to begin to talk more about the volunteer and the community opportunities in a moment. But if you do want to stretch, this is a great time to do it. And when you're ready to come back and you hit play, we'll call you back the way we do at every conference. This is our signal at gatherings and events that break is over. It's time to come back. And so welcome back as we continue this presentation and we begin to talk about the community involved. We of course have the virtual community. You're participating in that right now by listening. We have volunteer energy exchange programs to support those who want to partake in workshops and conferences but perhaps don't have the paper with squiggles on it or want to be able to attend more than one event at ECETI during the season. We also have our monthly and seasonal community members, and we'll explain as we go forward in this presentation the difference between being a volunteer and being a community member. Our conferences, our gathering, we have a beautiful group of people that get together every week and others who come in and out as their schedule allows. We also are doing more virtual link-ups, collective consciousness healing connections, such as we did for Standing Rock in late summer, And as we did, holding light for what is the highest and best on the day of the inauguration, because there was so much fear being projected into the collective consciousness of the riots that were going to break out. And so we held space and did a virtual gathering and anchoring light. We will also be doing more CE5, Contact 5 virtual gatherings this summer, which means when we are doing our Skywatch here at the ranch, we will send out an email to our list letting you know to tune in. Perhaps we'll have a theme, perhaps it will be simply connecting across the globe. And then there will be opportunities to share your experience. We also are focusing even more this year on ambassador hubs around the United States and around the planet. We hear over and over again how people share that there is no one in their neighborhood that they can speak to, no one in their circle who understands them. And we oftentimes find it's because they've been afraid to actually share who they are. And we've had beautiful beings such as Terry in Oklahoma, Todd in Houston, Linda and Cassie in Palm Desert, and others step forward to begin to say they would like to be an ambassador in their geographic location. And as we complete the update of the ECETI.org website, we will add more and more of who these individuals are in the different hubs. And perhaps you may be interested in being an ambassador where you live. I do want to share a little bit of a story at this time, because we've been getting the message more and more of how integral it is to your awakening process, to our awakening process, to drop the masks of who we thought we had to be accepted through school, through our corporate life, even through our family, or perhaps the religion we were brought up in. Because truly, as we move into the fifth dimensional frequency, it is about being authentically who you are. Being authentically who you are, speaking your truth from your heart without attachment to the outcome. For when I hold the frequency of who I am authentically rather than trying to fit in, I send that frequency out across the multiverse. And that signal begins to resonate with other star beings who are walking in human form. And they go, aha, she's a sister. Or aha, he's a brother. And the soul family in physical reunites. We cannot share enough the joy we feel almost every weekend here during the season as we see these reunions of soul family happening. My own personal experience of sharing who I am, being authentically me, started when I lived in Australia. I've been back in the United States for 12 years, and before that, I lived in Australia for 15. So it's been just under half of my life. I had a position within a corporation where I did multi-million-dollar deals with companies such as Microsoft, IBM, Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, Fox Television, Holden Car Company, and more. And my higher self turned up the volume to get me to pay attention to why I was truly here. And I no longer could pretend that I wasn't having the experiences that I was having. And I got to a place where I really didn't care if I lost my corporate job or not, because I was so out of balance with my joy. So I began to speak my truth when executives in these meetings would ask me what I did over the weekend before our meeting. And I would begin to say, well, I went out with some friends and we skywatched and we saw 3 power-ups of UFOs, one split into 2 and the other zigzagged through the sky. What did you do? And I would then be quiet. Or I would say, well, I did a remote viewing workshop with a gentleman who used to be part of the secret space program, and we actually remote viewed colonies on other planets. What did you do? Yes, some people rolled their eyes, but I didn't care. What was more fascinating to me was the number of phone calls and emails that I received after the meeting. Many of them from high-level executives in corporations who said, Ashli, can we get together for a cuppa? I've been having these experiences since I was a kid. I thought I was going crazy and I have no one I can talk to. Can you please share with me your experiences? And I knew in that moment, as those calls and voicemails and emails came in, that just holding space for these individuals to share their story with someone that they knew would not judge them was an important gift that I was giving to them and their own consciousness. Now again, I recognize that some of you may be concerned about losing a payroll check and having to keep a house over your family's head, a roof over their head. But remember, as you become more and more authentically who you are, the universe sees that and listens and begins to bring into your circle individuals who resonate within a compatible frequency bandwidth. And you will be overwhelmed by how much joy that brings to your heart. So these ECETI Ambassador Hubs are there to create and to support that growing virtual community. Of course, there's James' weekly BBS radio show that you can listen into and learn and share. And James will be appearing at conferences throughout the year. The first is Contact in the Desert, and actually in June via Skype he will be joining a conference in the Netherlands. Keep an eye on the newsletter, keep an eye on the website, and update that. And of course, the ECETI Roadshow is a way to go out and connect with the community, and this is now going to become an annual event, a little bit different each time, but we'll be doing this on behalf of James. He's not able to get to all the places that he's invited, and we know you'd much rather see James, but we're there. If you'd like to come say hi, participate in some meditations, ask some questions, we're here for you as well. We also have the opportunity for virtual volunteers. So if you want to help support what's happening at ECETI, and you can't always get out here physically, or you'd like to do some volunteering remotely from where you are to gather up some energy credits, if you will, to apply towards coming to the one event you're able to come to every year, there are graphics assistants. Each one of these workshop events needs a poster, a JPEG, things we can use online as well as print, and I am so not a graphic. Very much needed. If you have graphics ability and you're interested in doing that, it's the postcard for the conference and it's the posters for all the weekends. You saw the one I did for self-mastery. If you are a graphics person, you will cringe when you hear me say this. I use PowerPoint. I import a picture, I create a text box, I group it together, I save it as a picture. So I need help. Send me an email to ECETIvolunteers@gmail.com if you're interested in rescuing me. I don't often ask to be rescued. I'm very self-empowered, but with graphics, I definitely need some help. In addition, there's opportunities if there are conferences, consciousness events happening in your neighborhood. There's a big one that happens in Ohio every year. There's many across the United States and across the world. And you've talked to the organizers and they give you permission to drop off some of our postcards or brochures. That's another way you can help support the community from your own hometown and again, receive energy. There are also many event websites where people go to find out what's happening in their particular area of interest. So if you have some event websites that you go to, we are looking for places to post listings for our events. Send us an email. We will have Lynn is going to be handling our promotions. She'll be the coordinator from that, and she will work with you in getting you the information, and we are in great gratitude for that information in spreading the word. We also have the opportunity for those that really enjoy James's interviews to listen to the old programs on As You Wish Talk Radio. There are many programs that were recorded without the 3 or 4 sentence kind of brief of what that episode is about, and we would really love to get that up to date. So if you like putting on your iPhone or your Samsung phone or whatever phone and listening and just want to jot down a couple sentences about what the interview is about, and you can email that to us, and that would be a great way you can support and have some energy exchange credits in your bank account, so to speak. Again, you can email for more information, but if you go to bbsradio.com and go to the archive page, you will see which ones have write-ups or not. Also, as we are updating Private Invitation ECETI and ECETI.org, there is a great opportunity for people to use their time when they feel drawn to review the websites. Many times I'm doing these website updates 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I make mistakes. So being able to scan those and emailing information, or emailing if there's a paragraph or write-up that is not clear. As you know, if you've done your own type of promotion work, you know it so well and you write it just automatically. So new eyes are a great gift in a way to contribute. Also, help with Facebook events and likes and getting the information we put out there higher on the looking list. I'm so bad at Facebook events, but if you are a Facebook person, you know more than I do, and so we're open to that kind. And maybe you have a gift that I haven't talked about that you would like to contribute from where you live. Please be in touch and let us know what that is, because again, we are holding that space and walking our talk of creating that energy exchange community. It's not just reliant on the paper with squiggles on it, but shares gifts and a fair value energy exchange. Because we are soul family. And when we come together, we create amazing co-creation and manifestation. And if you are listening to this presentation, you are part of the family already. And again, remember, pitching in is the best way to get to know the real James. Now, I want to share that my brother James is human. If you're coming here expecting James to be wearing white, long, flowing robes, whether literally or figuratively, you may have your paradigm busted. For James farts and burps and laughs, and he and Joseph have pun contests. He is very real. And James gets dirt under his fingernails. He snakes the toilet in the camper's bathroom when it gets clogged. He plows the driveway in the winter. He's not up in some ivory tower commanding everyone else to do the work. And although James does interact with guests during our events, sitting at the picnic table or perhaps over a meal, he likes having people come and stand beside him and get on their hands and knees picking weeds in the garden just as he is doing. Those are some of the most powerful conversations you can have with James when you are here working beside him and assisting him or the other crew in keeping the ranch going. So pitching in is the best way to get to know James and to have those. So in speaking with that, we have volunteer weekends when we open for the season and close for the season. And the weekends themselves open as early as 12 noon on Thursday, and you can leave as late as 12 noon on Monday. And our volunteer weekends are exclusive for those volunteering. So our pre-opening in April and after we close down in mid-November, you don't come just to Skywatch during that weekend or have a session with James. You're coming during those volunteer weekends to put on your work boots, put on your work gloves, and get the ranch either opened after the winter season or to get it ready to go into hibernation after our summer season. We ask for a $20 deposit per person that will go towards the food we purchase, and that you will be reimbursed that $20, $21 with the ticketing fee. At the end of the weekend, it will go back to your payment form. And the reason we have instituted this is because unfortunately we have had in the past years many people who have said they're coming to volunteer. We purchase all the food and then they don't show up. So we, unlike other sanctuaries who have you pay to be a volunteer, we will provide on a first come first served basis accommodation during these volunteer only weekends. You can always tent as well or stay in your RV. And we will provide 3 meals a day. And we will provide other activities including meditation, the medicine wheel walk, group clearings, and more. All we ask is that you give us a $20 deposit up front so that if we buy food and you don't show up, our costs are covered. And we hope you understand that. So we had a pretty tough winter this year, but it's a good thing because it means we should have a pretty good summer without fires. Sometimes when we don't have as much snowfall, like a lot of the country, you're more susceptible to the fires. We've never had fires here at the ranch. It's up on the mountains around us. But we're in good shape, but it means there's a lot to go on. Those of you that live in the Pacific Northwest know that we had in early February quite an intense ice storm. We have 70 acres and we have a lot of broken trees and branches that are down because the ice became so heavy that the tree branches broke. So we have a lot of cleanup to do, a lot of wood to be chopped. Thank you very much, Mother Nature, for our firewood for next winter. In addition, we have buildings that need to be touched up with painting, some fencing that broke that needs to be repaired, our greenhouse being organized and getting the seedlings planted in the greenhouse before we replant them outside, the weeding and the preparation of the gardens for those that like to get their hands in the actual vortex earth energy. Our office needs organizing and filing and straightening, as well as our book. The accommodation rooms require the deep cleaning after the winter, as well as our meditation room, our lounge, and the conference hall. Our indoor kitchen and our catering kitchen, especially with an inventory out in the catering kitchen of our plates and our silverware and our napkins. We will have some construction work going on. Some of that will be repair from snow damage. Others will be building the platforms for some of these canvas camps. We also have a collapsed shed out in our field that we are intend to clear up this year and repurpose many of the materials for other construction. Our sound system in the conference hall, if you are a sound engineer, we could really use some help in upgrading that and making it more user-friendly. And I'm going to put it back in again, opportunities for graphics assistance. It's important to get out the message. Weekends for volunteers begin the last weekend of March, the first weekend of April. Each weekend in April, we are having a volunteer weekend. James will be gone the Saturday and Sunday of the weekend of April 6th to 9th. We still need help out at the ranch during that weekend. He will be being interviewed by George Norrie that weekend for Gaia TV, but he will be here on the Thursday and the Friday. I don't know his flight time yet, so I'm not sure how much of Saturday he'll be here. We will also be out there cleaning and repurposing during the weekend of April 13th to 16th. That is Easter weekend, so if you do have family obligations, we just don't want you to not understand that that is Easter weekend. We will obviously provide food and do our own ceremony with Jeshua here, non-religious affiliated. And then, of course, April 20th to 23rd, April 27th to the 30th. And the registration for those weekends is open now. It is on a first come, first served for the actual accommodation. We also have the closing weekend in November. I'm looking at about November 9th to 12th. That's going to depend a little bit on how the weather is. During that time, we shut down the rooms. There's lots of apples to be picked and preserved or dehydrated, and clean up the bathrooms before we turn off the water in the campus bathroom. But that we'll be talking about more later in the season. But there is an opportunity in November. So to sign up for the volunteer weekends, you go to the calendar. You can scroll down and you see the volunteer little flag, and you can pick the weekend that you're going to register for. Click here to register. You'll see this is the weekend of March 30th. And the first thing that you do is you indicate how many volunteers are included in this booking for that refundable volunteer deposit of $20 per person. So let's say you and your partner or you and a friend want to come out. So you indicate 2. Then you will see the different types of tasks that we're going to be focusing on that weekend and the time. So you can sign up for, based on when you're able to come out and when you have to leave, what you'd like to work on. So for example, helping out with that barn in cleaning up the materials from the collapsed shed. You might want to help for a few hours doing office work, get in from outside, and then do a little bit of manual labor in picking up the tree branches and do a little planting in the greenhouse. So you sign up for all of that, and then you'll pick your accommodations if you want to stay in one of the rooms. And this is updated to real time, and it shows what accommodations are available, whether you want to camp, whether you want to stay in one of the rooms, though it gives you the opportunity to block off your room. And again, it shows real-time availability. Then you click on next, you read the information, you understand. We have a no pet policy. We actually had 2 years ago, as I mentioned when I talked about Jadar, a couple of instances where we almost had people bit by others' dogs, and so we now are a no pet facility, even with service dogs, because of our land patent. So then you would go through, like I showed you in the previous example, fill out your name, your information, how many people, if there's another person with you, if you're vegetarian or omnivore, and click next, and you'll get the confirmation. It'll have all the times of all the things you signed up for as well. Whew. Take a deep breath. Now for the volunteer weekends, we are doing the same exchange as we are doing for event workshops at $15 energy exchange credit for every hour that you contribute in work. And we ask for an average of 6 hours a day to cover your food and your accommodation, and then the credit that you can apply towards a registration for an event further on in our calendar or a remote session. During the volunteer weekends, James will not be doing in-person transpersonal release sessions because we have work to do to get the ranch ready. Thank you for understanding. We also have 2 other energy exchange programs that take place during our actual events. The first is the energy exchange work, and the second is lend a hand for meals. Exchange program is various roles during the weekend events and conference that contribute towards a smooth operation. Some will require arriving earlier in the week for training before actually fulfilling that role. The good news is if you sign up, let's say for guest registration, and you come in for the training for a first event, then if you choose to come back and do guest registration at another event, you do not need to be here for the training for subsequent events once you have received the training. The schedules for the energy exchange volunteers are designed to optimize your ability to attend the workshop. So we schedule our events so the chores that need to take place do not overlap with the actual workshop. The only time when that differs is lunch for buffet setup, because that happens so that lunch is ready when the workshop breaks. About a half an hour before lunch starts is when that role is required to report to the kitchen. And also during our annual conference, because there is so much to do, what we ask is that you let us know the top 2 speakers you must see, and then we work our schedules around. Again, we are holding space to have more volunteers, and of course, our intention is always that you are able to attend the events. The great thing is when you sign up for these work trades, they actually have the hours of the shifts so you can plan accordingly. Our exchange value again is $15 per hour of volunteer work. And you can do an energy exchange of up to 40% of the workshop registration and 100% of your camping. Now, in the spirit of transparency, the reason it's only 40% off the workshop is because when presenters come to speak at ECETI, they don't pay for renting the room like in lots of venues. And they don't have to pay for their accommodation, and they don't pay for their food. That all comes from the revenue that is generated. And our agreement with our presenters is of the workshop registration, their split is 60% and 40% is ECETI's, again because it is our marketing and our list. So in supporting the volunteers, we're actually not intending to pay out of our pocket the 60% that would go to the presenter. So you can work off up to 40% of the registration fee in the equivalent at $15 per hour. And 100% of the camping. Now at this time, we are not doing energy exchange towards rooms because, again, we have so few of them. Perhaps as we expand our accommodation offerings, we'll be able to include accommodation rooms in the volunteer exchange. For meals, the exchange can go up to 100% of your meal costs. It is important to understand that it is only lend a hand for meals hours that can be credited towards your meals. The reason is we actually have a caterer who comes and works the events for us. Again, in transparency, this caterer is my sister Pamela, who lives in Santa Monica. And the reason it's my sister is because 2 years ago, I got quotes from several different caterers in the area. And the challenge, because of how remote we are, is that they needed a guaranteed 2 months out of what their revenues would be. If you think about your life, especially nowadays, sometimes it's hard to plan what we're going to do in 2 days, let alone 2 months out. And so it was very difficult to financially commit to the minimums they required 2 months out. With Pamela, she has the ability to be flexible and get her numbers about a week to 10 days before the actual event takes place. In addition, we had an ongoing problem with caterers who I'm sure had all the best intentions, but they would run late, and we would break from a conference for a meal and they wouldn't be ready, and the meal would start a half an hour to an hour late, which pushed back the reconvening of the workshop. Pamela is very good with time. And finally, we had a situation where caterers told us they were using organic ingredients, and we found out that was not the case. You may have heard James speak often about not supporting Munn Satan and the other big AGRA and Agenda 21 participants. We walk our walk, and when it comes to our foods, we use organic, free-range, no antibiotic produce and poultry and proteins. And this is important to keep your frequency at a higher vibration. And Pamela knows the importance of using organic ingredients. So when you volunteer and you want to get credit toward your meals, it is actually volunteering in roles that support the catering, because it is Pamela who is absorbing the cost of your meals. What you would do is first sign up for energy exchange or lend a hand for meals. And then Lori, who is our volunteer ambassador, within 2 to 3 days, will do a calculation of what your hours are and what credit that is towards either the workshop and camping or towards your meals. And she will email you the coupon that you will then go back and actually register for the workshop and your accommodation or sign up for your meals. Some of the roles for energy exchange applied towards workshop registration or camping include being a greeter and welcoming guests as they arrive, helping with registration and check-in, getting the guest waiver signed, helping to find the name badges, showing them to their rooms during the tour. We also have assistance required for parking. Make sure our handicap parking stays open, making sure that people that are here that are staying off property are parked in the appropriate parking area. And also security, that's more about making sure there are not disruptors on the ranch. We hold space for people to own and be responsible and honoring of the sanctuary. There are also roles at mealtimes to work in our bookstore or our store to assist in selling the books or the t-shirts or the sweatshirts or the orgonite or whatever else is happening in the store. Assistance with helping Chief Joseph with audio visual. It could be actually with the sound, or it could be with the filming or with duplication of CDs and DVDs. Separate from the caterer is our beverage station with ranch water, with our coffees and teas and all the accoutrements that go with that. So before every meal, making sure it's refreshed and restocked. Our sun tea has the beautiful energy of the ranch and the solar frequencies. And so there's a role to have that made overnight. So this beverage station assistance is another role. And finally, sanitation and grounds cleanup. Sanitation and grounds cleanup is the bathrooms, it's the garbage, it's the recycling, and for the women it is actually straightening up Skywatch field from the night before. And because this is not necessarily the most glamorous role, there's actually a bonus. Instead of $15 an hour credit for this role, it is a $20 per hour credit towards your energy exchange. So again, to sign up for this, you go to the private invitation ECETI. In this case, we're using self-mastery workshop as the example, and you scroll down and you click here for energy exchange work trade. And again, one of those registration forms will come up. They look familiar by now. First, it actually comes up with a description and talks about the different types of shifts, such as check-in and registration, daily bookstore staffing. It shows when the mandatory training is, and then it shows when the registration takes place. With check-in and guest registration, the training is actually helping to put together the packets with the name badges and the parking passes and the meal tickets. And then it goes through each one of the activities, what the shifts are, what the expectations and the hours are. And you can click on it to actually register for whichever one. And all of those actually go to the same page. So you'd click on the register here and it takes you to this page. There's no charge for any of these things. You're just signing up and you click in. So if you're doing check-in and registration, you would sign up for the training and sign up for the time. In this case, we're using the beverage stations. So you're going to be signing up for training and you're going to sign up for the actual shifts that you want to work. We've already had a couple people sign up for some of these as I was going through and doing it. So you're signing up for the shift that you're going to do, and you sign up for the training, and then you click the entire registration. It explains a little bit more that what would happen once you get to the ranch. You're going to check in, make sure that you're very clear in understanding that once you sign up for this, you receive an email with your coupon code. And again, you fill in all your information and you click next, and you'll get your own confirmation that shows what you have signed up for and what your expectations are of when you arrive. So I'm just going to show you in a minute what that registration confirmation looks like, since this one is one that has no cost attached to it. You click next, and you'll get this. Click here to complete this order, and then you get the thank you for registering, and it shows your e-ticket number, and then it gives you the summary of what you've actually signed up for work trade for Self Mastery. Now on this I didn't actually sign up for training, but when you do it for yourself you will actually hit the training. Lend a hand for meals role. So if you're looking at doing energy exchange for your meals, there are several opportunities. The first is to assist in doing prep work. Sous chef, if you will, cutting and chopping, creating sauces. Pamela's very good at giving direction and instruction, and these are 2-hour shifts, and you can sign up for as many as you'd like based on what's available at the time. We break down the kitchen duties, if you will. So the first thing that takes place is actually washing the dishes and the pots and the pans that got dirty in the preparation of the meal. The second one is setting up the buffet, so the chafing dishes, lighting the sternos, getting all the condiments out, getting the display set up, and assisting then with food service, collecting the meal tickets, making sure that service takes place, bringing out replacements if required. The next role is actually tearing down the buffet after the meal ends, putting it away with the food, labeling it according to Pamela's instructions. And then finally, as the buffet is being torn down, the food's putting away, there is another person who's in the kitchen washing the dishes and the chafing dishes that got dirty during meal service. Our meals normally last an hour, and then there's a half an hour between when the meal ends and when our events reconvene, so that you have time, if you signed up for these shifts, to fulfill your role and eat and make sure you make it back to the event in. So again, using self-mastery as an example, Pamela's getting the menus finished for the upcoming events. So I don't actually have the menus up here, but I do have the lend a hand for meals set up on the website already. First, again, it describes each shift and what the timing is. So if you're an early morning person and you want to be up early, actually getting the helping with the breakfast, get that volunteering out of the way. It shows you the shifts, the dishwasher, setting up the buffet, taking the food tickets, breaking down the buffet, putting the food away, and washing dishes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So then when you know what you want to do, again, you click on that registration page and it shows food prep 2-hour shifts. If you're coming in early, Wednesday or Thursday, you want to do a couple of those 2-hour shifts. If you want to wash some breakfast prep dishes early in the morning, actually helps set up the buffet. You'll see some of those that are grayed out actually means that those slots have already been registered for. So thank you to those people who have already signed up. And this energy exchange, work trade for workshop registration and camping, and the lend a hand for meals will be available for every single event that we do. Now I also want to share that if you really feel drawn to attend an event and you can't afford the 60% portion of the workshop, be in touch and we can discuss whether or not we are able to have you do a work trade for the entire amount. So this again gives the recap of what it was that this individual signed up for, You would fill out the remainder just as you did for the others, and then you would get your ticket confirmation. This is an example of an email that shares the information of the calculation. So Krian signed up for 15 hours at $15 towards the workshop and camping. She got a credit of 225, and she was given a coupon code to apply that will deduct the amount from registration and from camping. She then also got one for meals. So you don't need to memorize this. I'm just kind of showing you that you'll get a coupon code. The coupon code changes. The way we formulate it changes with each event, but that kind of gives you the information of how to actually apply once you get the coupon code to your registration. And of course, I know this is a lot of information. We're always available by phone or via email. If you get voicemail, we might be out feeding the chickens. Leave a message and we'll call you back. We are still in pre-opening stage, so we're not necessarily answering the phone every day because there's a lot to do and few people at the ranch at this moment. So again, if you have any suggestions on how to make any of the pages more easy to understand, we look forward to your feedback. And if the energy exchange or lend a hand resonates for you, we really look forward to you participating as a volunteer event. So again, this is where the type of coupon code we used for that particular event. This is a sample that I marked up using it for self-mastery. Just bringing in some different energy. Just going to do a clearing, calling in all the beautiful many. We welcome all entities in love and light. We speak to you all from the Lord God of our being, telling you all you are healed and forgiven, lifted and enlightened. Healed and forgiven, lifted and enlightened, filled and surrounded with the divine Christ light and the divine Christ love. And we ask the beautiful many to escort you all to your perfect place. Go in peace. And just breathe in. I know that's a lot of information to take in. I hope it was beneficial. The images you're seeing on your screen is James doing an initiation for one of our young masters. That's an initiation he will do for all the participants at his self-mastery workshop, and later in the year at his ambassador workshop. We usually break it down into a couple different sittings, as it is kind of a one-on-one event. And on the right-hand side, you see the practice of Qigong out in our Skywatch field. Again, that movement exercise, a great daily practice that we will again be teaching at our different workshops. Okay, we're now going to talk about what it means to be a seasonal community member and the difference between being a seasonal community member and a volunteer in energy exchange. And first, we'll talk about the benefits. The first, of course, is living in community, being in this Stargate, and having that opportunity to learn and to grow and to be and to live with like-minded people that you can dialogue with and laugh with. Experiencing the Stargate, the vortex of ECETI on a deeper level. Being here in that frequency is a continual recalibration, and it's priceless. The opportunity to contribute to the awakening and healing of humanity by assisting the community and ECETI in doing what it does, and also having the opportunity to speak to the guests that are here, to hold space and listen as you weed the garden or clean the bathrooms or feed the chickens. You contribute to ECETI's mission, and through that many of our community members find what their greatest joy is and go on to spread their message and their healing across the globe. You also get to participate in workshops and events. Of course, you have responsibilities as a community member that come first, But again, our attention is in having the right people here. We work in cooperation and synergy so that those that are drawn to a particular workshop are supported by their other community members who may not resonate with a particular teacher. And then when a workshop comes up that resonates for those who first held space, then their community brothers and sisters repay the favor. After being here 10 days of service as a community member, we are also delighted to gift you with a transpersonal release. The other benefit, of course, is your own spiritual growth if you choose to step into your self-mastery. At this moment, we provide meals. Some of them, like lunch, are self-serve. Housing, we are going to be undertaking a GoFundMe to expand our housing. And James has agreed that of the funds raised for additional accommodations, 20% will go towards housing for the crew. So understand we are very basic. You can come and camp in your own vehicle or stay in your tent. It's a great way to connect with the earth. And hopefully not too far into the summer season, we will have some crew accommodation, whether they be dormitory or canvas camps, but be aware that in this now moment, it is a requirement that you have your own tent and you're willing to camp, or you have a vehicle you can stay in. Being a community member, what's required of you is understanding the Stargate. Now, we have spoken about how for our camping and Skywatch weekends, you come on Thursday and you leave on Monday, and partially that's because our crew is regenerating on the off days, and it's also because there is a honeymoon effect. When people first come to ECETI, they are filled with the light of the vortex, the bliss and the joy, and it is, in a way, an energetic high. But if you're here more than 4 days, your higher self in the Stargate goes, aha, it's time. And the Stargate and the vortex starts recalibrating your energy to be in alignment with the Stargate, which means if I have any wounds or traumas or old programs that are not in my highest and best, the frequency of the Stargate will push them up and out. It is important to understand that about the Stargate if you are choosing to request an opportunity to be considered as a monthly or seasonal community. The difference between a volunteer and a community member is that a volunteer is here working hour per hour for $1 energy exchange to attend a workshop. A community member is here because you are drawn to be part of the mission. We don't keep tab of our hours. We don't clock in or out. We are holding space and doing what needs to get done. And if we finished our project, we check in with our other community members to see if they need support. Of course, balance is important. We have breakfast depending on whether we're early morning risers or those that are late night individuals might have breakfast a little bit later, and then we begin our day. We take a break for lunch, maybe meditate for an hour, and then continue the day. And we finish around dinner and we take turns washing the dishes. Those who cook don't wash the dishes. So understanding that being a community member is stepping away from the concept of $1 exchange and instead stepping into being part of the community and helping things to get done. We have had experiences where we have shared with individuals that a day is at least 6 hours long of contributing. And they go, yes, yes, we understand, we understand. And they get here. One of my favorite dear beings got here and said, well, I need off from 10 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, which really didn't help. So there is an expectation that you understand what being a community member involves. It is also important that you understand the importance of keeping the sanctuary sacred and holding the frequency of the vortex. We'll go into that more on the next slide after this build. An important part of this that goes back to understanding the Stargate is the willingness to own your own stuff, walk your self-mastery, communicate and say, my buttons are being pushed, can we do a clearing? Because never is the responsibility for something out of harmony 100% somebody else's fault. Self-mastery is owning personal responsibility and being willing to say, I'm really frustrated with you, can we do a clearing? Or being willing to say, what you said hurt me, can we do a clearing? Or being willing to say, can we sit down and work through this? If an individual feels that a disharmony is 100% someone else's fault and is not willing to look at your own stuff, being a community member at ECETI is not for you. We had a situation last year with two beautiful beings. One Miss C, the other Miss R. And Miss C was in her second year of being a community member. I adored Miss C. And I knew she had gifts and talents beyond doing the housekeeping, which she did with love and with joy. And I encouraged her to begin writing her book, her story of her own Chiron wounded healing journey. And I encouraged the ranch to pay for software for her to write her book. And I supported and encouraged her to speak every week, taking the time to be in front of the guests and share her light and her journey, for she had an important message to share. And I also advocated for her to be on last year's conference program. After having had an opportunity to get talks in front of smaller groups under her belt, her message was important enough to share at the conference. But Miss C has a daughter who is an addict, and her daughter addict had often stolen her identity and her credit cards. But Miss C was not able to confront her daughter. We had another beautiful volunteer here named Miss R, who was in recovery. She had been in an accident which she almost lost her leg, which led to a painkiller addiction, which led to other addictions. And she had been on a journey before she came to the ranch and was in recovery. Miss C, however, saw in Miss R the projection of her own daughter who had betrayed her over and over again. And Miss C could not get angry at her own daughter, but she certainly took it out on Miss R. There were many times when Miss C tried to get Miss R kicked off the ranch. And at one point, Joseph and I sat down with Miss R to, from a balanced, heartfelt place, ask her some questions to clarify that what we felt was truth was actually truth, and it was just Miss C's projection. Miss R was very gracious in receiving our input. However, the next time she saw Miss C, her anger got the better of her and she lashed out with quite inappropriate language at Miss C in front of guests. Joseph observed this and called Miss R out on it and told her she had to apologize, which she did, but Miss C was not in a place to receive it. And this confrontation brought up a lot of the pent-up projections and pain within Miss C about her interaction with her daughter. She came into my office and yelled at me for 45 minutes straight, to the point where other guests on the ranch could hear it. I asked Ezekiel for help in holding space, as Miss C told me how terrible I was. And I held space, for I knew that there was a benefit to me in this, no matter how much it hurt. And when C left my office, I was shaking. Joseph was away from the ranch, and I called James. And I said to James, this is what happened. When you get back, can we do a clearing? I need to clear this energy, and I need to determine what role I played in what just happened. And I said, if I am the problem here, the mission of ECETI is more important. And James came back and we did the clearing. And I did have a little bit of triggering, and I cleared that. But this was not my main initiation. But I owned my stuff, and I accepted responsibility, and I asked to clear that first before we proceeded. Miss R did the same, but Miss C would have none of it. And she continued to say it was my fault and Miss R's fault. And she became so angry and so agitated that James actually said it was the best if she left the ranch for a while, and she took off. And she continued to call James, and James asked me what I thought, and I said I recuse myself from this. I will tip with you to determine what's the highest and the best. But I truly feel that this is a decision that is important for you to make, because I am too close to this. And so we tipped on it and did clearings and held space for Miss C to come back to the ranch to participate in clearing and owning her part. Not only was she not able to do that, but she posted some pretty horrible things about ECETI on her Facebook page. We made the decision, as this happened a week before the conference, which is when a lot of reptilian energy attempts to come in to disrupt. We made the decision that if Miss C was not able to step forward and clear her part in this, if she was holding so much anger that it was not appropriate for her to speak at the conference. James shared that, and I made the suggestion that through her PayPal account we give her a generous departing gratitude energy exchange. To this day, Miss C is off doing what is for her highest and best, and I continue to hold space and love the being that she is. Ms. R has now gone off on her own journey as well. I share this as the initiation that it is, and the example of one of the greatest downfalls of intentional living in community, especially in a high-frequency spiritual environment, because as I shared earlier, the Stargate will bring up all of your stuff for healing. So again, if you are drawn to come and submit your name for an opportunity to be a short-term or seasonal community member, understand that it is in the self-mastery to own your stuff, walk your self-mastery, communicate if you feel something is out of balance, and ask to have a clearing with the individual who perhaps may be pushing your buttons. James and I laugh because he becomes the projection of the critical father, perhaps the loved one, the partner who didn't treat you the way you wanted to, and people project this onto him. What gets projected onto me in the role that I play is the authoritarian critical teacher or boss or critical mother or stepmother. I'm willing to own my stuff, but those that are interacting also need to step into their own self-mastery. Ezekiel gave me a phrase to put outside of the office. As he told if that showed up on your screen. Interesting, clear that. James began to reinforce with me this projection happens. He's been receiving it for 30 some years. I've only been receiving it for about 4. And so the phrase from Ezekiel that is now outside the office is thank you for honoring me with the opportunity to assist you in healing your authority issues. Again, a powerful initiation. The Stargate will bring up our stuff. Understanding it is one of the downfalls of community, and when you know that and someone says to you or says to me, hey Ashley, can we do a clearing? My answer is always, of course. I am putting together a questionnaire. My intention is to have that up and online by Wednesday the 22nd. I had hoped to have it up sooner. And then we'll talk about the opportunities and skills. Again, you can be a community member for as little as 10 days, a month, or for the season. Keeping the sanctuary sacred. This is a subject unto itself. As you may be aware, the frequencies are shifting and accelerating. And 2 years ago, James and I received strong guidance from Ezekiel, who is the 7th dimensional Lord of Eternal Bliss. Our conference hall is named after Ezekiel. He's the co-author of many of James's books. And Bakal, the lion being guardian of the gods and goddesses, the protector of universal law, and our star family members, to really hold space to protect the Stargate as the frequencies are continually recalibrating to a higher vibration. Therefore, although we honor free will when it comes to the use of recreational or medical marijuana, we are also insisting that those that want to come as volunteers or community members honor the ranch's policy of being a marijuana, drug, and alcohol-free zone. It is crucial to prevent the diversion of the energy away from supporting the Stargate. When we have people here that are artificially altering their states, it opens doorways to greys and reptilians and serpent beings. And James and myself and the rest of the crew have to divert their energies from holding space for the Stargate to clearing away these entities that use the openings of these altered states to infiltrate. If you are not comfortable with our policy, we honor you, and we wish you well in finding a retreat center that's more in alignment with your own beliefs and that is welcoming to those artificially altered states. ECETI reserves the right to remove volunteers or community members or guests who do not adhere to the marijuana, drug, and alcohol-free zone policy from the property, and all funds paid are non-refundable if you do not adhere to the policy. And again, understanding that if you are looking at medicinal, there is CBD from hemp that does not have the THC in it. There are other ways of using medicinals that don't affect and alter your state, which opens the doorways to entities. Namaste. What are the potential roles for seasonal community members? There is a lot of guest communication, administrative role, emails, answering telephone calls, shipping out books, welcoming guests when they come to the ranch. There's a lot that goes on. We also have 2 roles for gardening, including planting and watering and weeding and harvesting. We are also looking at the potentiality for someone perhaps who may want to work partially in administration and partially in garden to balance being in the office with being outside. We also have opportunities in facilities and construction, keeping an eye on the fences, taking care of the driveway, cleaning out things that require a little more brawn in lifting. There is always something going on from facility. We also have the opportunity for someone who loves cooking, creating healthy meals with love. Of course, we have the caterer for the events, and the crew cook can support Pamela, the caterer, during events. We have a role for housekeeping, the changing over of our rooms, the dusting and vacuuming of the laundry and the bathroom. Audiovisual support, again, supporting Joseph in the filming and the editing and the duplication, the labels for the DVDs, etc. We have an opportunity for someone who can multitask in a different role and also take care of our sound at our events. We talked about. Or perhaps you have a skill that we haven't mentioned that you feel would be a great contribution to our community. Now, I do want to say you may be familiar with the saying, before enlightenment, sweep floors and carry water. After enlightenment, sweep floors and carry water. As I said, James isn't wearing some long white robe sitting back eating grapes and bonbons. He's got his hands in the dirt. He's watering the fruit trees. He's fixing fences. He's helping with the construction. So we don't really have a need for someone who wants to come and just be a healer. We honor you, but a community here requires everyone to pitch in and do the grunt work, hold the frequency. So we're not looking for people who just want to come and be healers. There is obviously somewhere else where you can do that. The application, I'll be working on that and getting that up, and a newsletter will go out when that is open. The questionnaire deadline will be adjusted based on when I actually get the process and the questions. We'll have a free conference call for those that may have questions and want to know more that wasn't answered in this presentation or the online description. Once we get people's applications in, James and I will actually tip on each applicant to see if the synergy is there and if their being here is for the highest and best of the individual and of ECETI's mission and community. And this takes it out of any personal energy into the frequency of what's for the highest and the best. Those in be contacted, and if you haven't been to the ranch before, you'll be invited to come out for a weekend in April to experience it, see how you feel being here with all the rustic beauty of our ranch, and to see how the synergy again is between you and the community members. And then you'll have the opportunity to be here for 10 days, a month, or the season. We do want to share that although we do have a couple of volunteers who are tobacco smokers, the majority of us in the community prefer non-smoking. Again, many of us are very sensitive to fragrances and to the toxins in cigarettes. Our smoking policy is that smokers either smoke in their own vehicle, keep the smoke to themselves, or they smoke outside at our campfire area during the day. At night, it depends on who is out there from guests' perspective of whether or not smoking is permitted at the campfire at night, because if the majority of people are non-smokers, that is the intention that is held. So we would invite the smokers to return to their vehicles to smoke. We also ask that smokers do not place their cigarette butts on the ground. Honor the sanctuary. We also have in grandfathered Lori's beautiful little being, Charlie Brown, and Lynn and Levi's puppy dog. If they have another one, their elder one passed. But we have a no pet policy now, because again, we had the service dog that attacked one of our dogs, and we had another guest dog who almost bit a guest, which would have created quite a liability. We understand that for many of you, you have a strong connection with your pets, but we unfortunately are not set up for our crew members to bring their pets with them. Breathe lots of information. So whether you're interested in coming out for an event, being part of the virtual community, or being a volunteer in work trade exchange, or a short or seasonal community member, there are many ways to stay in touch. You can join James's e-newsletter. Again, that's on the private invitation ECETI.com website if you're not already on there. Of course, listen to his radio show every week on BBS Radio as you wish. You can join our weekly teleconference, That Growing Community. Keep in touch with the website, private invitation ECETI.com. Our educational website is going to be so amazing as we complete it. It will be launched no later than May 15th and sooner, depending on when James's interview on Gaia TV is going to air. We have our ECETI Stargate official YouTube channel. Twitter is mainly reposting of things from Instagram and Facebook. And then our email address, ECETI2017@gmail.com, or ECETIreservations@gmail.com, and also ECETIvolunteers@gmail.com. With us. James's books are available on the store at privateinvitationeceti.com. They are also available through lulu.com in both PDF and paperback, and also through amazon.com. And now we'll go to the video that was filmed in late 2016, but a lot of it is applicable as a forecast of what is happening now.
Good day, Australia and America. This is for both of you. Actually, it's going to go globally, but I want to talk a little bit about the 11D ships and what's happening here. And you know, basically, it's game on. You know, when these energies came in, they're intense. They're massive, massive influx of energy. And whenever you add a lot of energy to a system or to a grid, and it's of a higher frequency, all the lower frequency stuff is going to come up to the surface. So you're going to see things move very quickly on every level. You're going to see huge economic changes, physical earth changes. You're going to see, you know, all kinds of social changes and planetary changes. Just on every level. You know, it's not. There's no rock left unturned, so to speak. So there's just going to be a lot of shifts and a lot of changes. And the next year, you won't believe who you are a year from now. Just as now, if you were to go back a year, you would say, I can't believe I'm here now doing what I'm doing, because we're going to take this quantum leap in consciousness and energy. But these ships are here now. They're in our grid. They're hovering around the Earth. They're not visible to the naked eye, but their presence is being felt, and they're working in unison, with the Pleiadians, the Orion Council of Light, the Andromedans, the Sirians, the Arcturians, and all the other groups that are part of the awakening and healing process. So it's as if this little corner in the universe that got kind of left behind in the Milky Way. We're like at the outermost corner of the Milky Way, and we kind of got left behind, and now it's like the gods are back, and they're here to assist in this shift. So there's so much more to this story. Whenever you have a reference point of a bearded god, it goes back to the Anunnaki, and the benevolent Anunnaki are back, and they're here to right a wrong and shift that epoch. So basically, all the religions were established by the way a certain Anunnaki behaved. And so, some of the Anunnaki were very benevolent, they're very service oriented, they love creation, they wanted to see creation evolve to its highest potential. There were other Anunnaki that were here that were very self-serving, and some were wrathful tyrants. And so, that's where we get all these images, and they're all polar opposites, is God all forgiving, all loving? Is God a jealous, wrathful, genocidal maniac? You can't have the same being doing the same acts, or you'd have a schizophrenic God. So it's actually, recorded history is recorded to the best ability of those recording the history, according to their references and their understanding. But there's a greater understanding, and we're going to bring all that out as to what the true nature of Source is. It doesn't have a beard. It's not a man, it's not a woman, it's pure energy, it's pure consciousness. But there are step downs from that consciousness and energy, and there are beings that are fully realized God beings, and there's some very evolved ultra-dimensionals that we would refer to as gods just because of their abilities and capabilities. So anyway, the real story is coming out. I've written about it in Anunnaki Return. I know Peter's written about it in his books. It's all starting to surface right now, and these videos are a part of that. So be sure and check out the documentary on what's the name of the documentary?
ECETI Down Under.
Yeah, ECETI Down Under on Pete's site, and on ECETI Australia. Check out that documentary. It tells the real story of the ancient origins of man. But anyway, I'll leave you with that. There's some incredible footage being filmed here at the ranch. Peter and Saul are with us here at the ranch, and we've got Barry over here who's having all kinds of contacts, and it's just amazing. We're having the most incredible experiences, and higher dimensional ships doing everything under the sun. So they're morphing, they're materializing, dematerializing, shape shifting, morphing into 5 back to 1 again, just doing all kinds of crazy things. And we've got some really low level ships flying right over the house, about half treetop level. So anyway, it's happening. The contacts are increasing. And one thing I wanted to say on this note, not to leave on a bad note, but this is just a reality, is that we need to be really discerning in this field of ufology, and really look at who's in there for self-serving purposes, how they run their operations. Are they in it for the fame and the money? And who are they connected to? And who's financing them? We need to look deeply into these matters, because unfortunately the people that are representing you to be the contactees and things like that are not who you think they are. So there's a lot of planned opposition. There's a lot of people that are in bed with the Rockefellers and the Clintons and all these other people. They do their dances at Bohemian Grove just like everybody else. And you got to really look into their behavior off the podium and do some research, and especially before you send any money to these people, because if you saw where the money went, and talk to their staff and ask their staff where the money went. It's very important. Do the research, do your own research, and if they're not empowering you to make your own personal connection with Source or Spirit, or have your own ET contact, then walk away, because it's not all about them. This is about you and your personal journey. So I'm going to leave it on that note. Have a great day, stay in the heart, and watch the skies.
It's been, let us say, very spiritual, and I've been a contactee, an experiencer my whole life. But yet what I've seen and I come out here is completely different. I've seen ships coming out of the mountain, going into the mountain, putting on, as the Native Americans would say back, dancing in the sky, mini dances. All right, and I wanted to kind of say something else. I suffered about 5 years ago 4 traumatic catastrophic brain injuries, which I've talked about a little. But you know, part of this whole thing, you could come out and see the ships, which is fine, and you will see that, you'll experience that. But after about 3 days, any trauma that you have, this land starts kind of bringing up. So you're going to have to deal with that in a positive way, but it's allowing you to heal. I myself have done a lot of healing out here. So I think maybe the main aspect of this ranch that needs to be emphasized is the healing of it, the healing aspect. And the ships come along with that. We thirst for the Creator first, we quest for the Creator, and then the ships and the healing comes with that. So they're not the separate things we think they are. As far as the ships themselves I've seen out here, you know, I've got all my categories and I thought I knew a lot about that, and I'm seeing things out here that's just blowing me away. We thought it was Jupiter at first. It's doing multiple flashes. Then we began to see it morph into 5 different spears, glowing spears. Then it went elongated, it went vertical, went back, it just kept morphing.
I see a lot, and it's all, you know, magical and stuff. It's a great time, but nothing quite to the extent of what we saw a few nights ago. Just with the form and how low it was, and the way it morphed and pulsed, and the power-ups around it.
That was bright. It's just sitting there.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Got it?
Where was that?
I got it. Straight to the east.
Okay.
Oh, two. Two of them.
Yeah, they split? There's 3. Oh.
Look at that.
Way in the back.
Wow, that. Oh, look, power up. The back one's powering up. Oh, yeah, look at that. Whoa, power up. Whoa, check it out. Woohoo!
That was great. Yeah.
It's still going.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you guys.
That other one just left it in the dust. Where'd the other one go?
Sit down.
Is it still there?
Yeah,
It's behind the tree right now.
I'll put it on the other.
There, here.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
There it is.
As well.
Is there?
Yeah. It's faint. Same flight path.
Oh, yeah, there's 2 together.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
This one's powering up.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
there's
powering
another
up,
one
look.
To the side as well.
Check it out, it's powering up.
There's 3.
There's 3 of them, huh?
Yeah. There's one off to the side behind the second one.
This one's getting big. Whoa! Did you see that?
No, what happened?
This thing came right down on top of it, and it just came all the way down to the ground. It's getting brighter. Look, it's powering up. Oh, look, flashback. I said flashback, and it did. You see that?
Yeah. Flashback again.
Now that's not a
Oh,
satellite.
no, look at that. Look how bright it's starting to get.
Yeah. Now you curve back. Wow, you can see a satellite make a course correction.
Yeah. Oh, we've seen 2 of them come right. This is a classic. Look at that. Oh yeah, it's powered up. Look at that. Whoa. Power up, you guys!
That light's, I can see now.
Yeah,
Is it bigger through the camera?
it's massive. I'm filming it right now.
Yeah, right here.
It's third generation. Whoa, the whole mountain is lighting up. Look at that.
It's lighting up.
Look at that.
Whoa!
You see that?
Yeah.
The whole mountain just lit up. It's still lighting up.
You see that?
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for spending this time with us and holding space as we have the opportunity to share with you more about the mission of ECETI, what's happening this summer 2017, and offering to you the opportunities for work, trade, or lend a hand, or being part of the community for short-term or seasonal. It is truly our honor, all of us that are part of the ECETI family, to support James in his mission and to hold space for each of you to remember the master that you are. If something within this presentation spoke to you, we look forward to welcoming you to ECETI when the time is right. And if it did not resonate, we honor your own unique journey of self-mastery, encouraging you to be authentically who you are. As James says, you did not come here to fit into a dysfunctional society. You came here to be authentically you, and in doing so, to anchor your frequency and to be part of the change. You are the one you've been waiting for. As I always say, heart hugs to each and every one of you. Again, I am Ashli from ECETI. Enjoy your journey and keep shining. Mahalo nui loa.